Order the Pompano Beach City Commission meeting of September 26, 2023. If I could ask everyone to please go ahead and silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate so we don't get disturbed during the meeting, I would appreciate that. Invariably, people get phone calls, so you just silence them or put them on vibrate. All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and call the roll, Kervin.
Commissioner Fournier?
Here.
Commissioner Moss? Here. Commissioner Perkins?
Here.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Here.
Mayor Harden?
Here, thank you. Our invocation this evening is going to be given by Pastor Brandon Jones for the Mount Calvary Baptist Church. So if we can please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Good evening to everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence. Let us pray. To the only wise God, to whom all glory and majesty belongs to, Father, we come and we thank you for this present moment. We thank you for this wonderful opportunity. We thank you for the individuals who you have placed at the forefront to lead our communities, Father. We thank you for the reason. We thank you for the communication and active listening skills that will take place in this place today. We thank you for the residents of this great community and other servant leaders who serve in the capacity that they do. We ask, Father, that your presence will be in this place and fill it so that we may live accordingly to your will and we may do what has been commissioned, Father, by you and your will to be done for this commission. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Can I get a motion approving the regular City Commission meeting minutes of September 12th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. On our agenda this evening, we will be postponing item number 8 until the October 10th meeting. So item number 8 will be postponed until the October 10th meeting. Mr. Harrison, any other changes to our agenda?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to consent agenda discussion. On our consent agenda, item 8 has already been postponed, but items 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be pulled from the consent agenda and will be discussed individually. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. All other items on the consent agenda are eligible for discussion during audience to be heard. All right. That takes us up to our proclamation this evening. It's a great one. We've got a great proclamation to recognize CERT member Fred Balestrieri for his 25 years of volunteer service. I'll be right over there. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you. 25 years. That is fantastic. You know, that's above and beyond the call of duty. That says a lot about you, but it also says a lot about our CERT folks that they keep it, you know, exciting and fun enough that you want to stay around for 25 years.
That's right. And it's my wonderful team member.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes. Now then. Yes, Kimberly, thank you for all you do. And of course, Chief, yes. All right. Whereas the Pompano Beach Fire Rescue Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, was formed 27 years ago in 1996. And whereas CERT is a national volunteer program created to engage the community to prepare for, respond to, and recover from any emergency situation or disaster. And whereas the Pompano Beach CERT program educates residents about disaster preparedness and trains them in basic disaster response skills such as fire safety, light search and rescue, team organization, terrorism awareness, and disaster medical operations. And whereas, as of 2023, it is recognized that Mr. Fred Balestrieri has provided 25 years of volunteer service to the Pompano Beach Community Emergency Response Team. And whereas, during his many years of service since he started in the program in 1998, Mr. Fred Balestrieri has selflessly given of himself to the CERT program through endless hours of community outreach and education events, acting as a ham radio operator, and as one of the program's first CERT zone leaders. And whereas Pompano Beach CERT volunteers remain a valuable resource dedicated to making our community safer, stronger, and better prepared to respond to any emergency situation or disaster. Now therefore I, Rex Harden, Mayor of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby recognize and acknowledge Mr. Fred Balistrario for his dedication and commitment to the City of Pompano Beach. He has continually demonstrated his willingness to place his concern for his fellow man and the public good ahead of his personal interests. Done this 26th day of September 2023, Rex Harden, Mayor. I cannot thank you enough for all you have done throughout the Yes. But now, let me ask you this. You're not done. Okay, I just want to make sure about that. Please say a few words. Go ahead.
This honor is not just for me, but it's all for my CERT team out here. You guys are wonderful to work with, and it's been a blast for the first 25 years, and I hope there's many, many more.
All right, yes. Thank you so much.
Stand behind the two of you.
I was in the second CERT class.
Really?
In 1997.
Oh, congrats.
25-year anniversary here today also.
Yeah, I've been at the office for so long.
I don't know, I see a phone. There's one guy right there. There we go, all right. Yeah, oh, sure. Good? All right. Looks like I
One more. One more. I don't know.
It's gotta be enough.
I never seen a white boy work that.
We're at a meeting.
All right. All right, indeed, a great event there. 25 years of service to the CERT program, and also 25 years of marriage. That's quite a combination. Thank you so much for your service. All right, that moves us along to our presentation, recommended 2023-2025 strategic plan presentation. Quiet Excellence LLC will provide a brief presentation on the recommended 2023-2025 strategic plan. This will be introduced by Mr. Ernesto Reyes, our strategic plan manager. Mr. Reyes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Ernesto Reyes, and I'm the Strategic Performance Manager. The city's strategic planning and performance management programs continue to evolve as we strive towards organization and performance excellence. This year being the first year that we have utilized the Malcolm Baldrige Performance Excellence Framework to construct a recommended strategic plan for 23-25 and produce integrated action plans. We have hired Quiet Excellence to help staff better understand the Baldrige criteria and its use as a strategic framework. I will now turn it over to Mr. Doug Serrano, who is a retired U.S. Army colonel and is also our Baldrige-based strategic planning consultant.
Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you for your service, sir.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Doug Serrano, and from Quiet Excellence LLC, which is a Baldrige-based consultancy. We work around the country, around the world, helping folks implement the Baldrige framework as a strategic framework for leadership and management for the organizations. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the...
Please please make sure you speak into the microphone because it's being recorded.
So to cover the mission, vision, and values of the organization, these were reviewed by the city staff with input from the commissioners, and this was where we landed for the new mission, vision, and values for the city. We used an approach that's called smarter strategic planning, which means that the strategic objectives are the overarching desires of the city and the city commission as to what the city staff needs to focus upon, with goals that are set out with specific and very measurable targets for them to accomplish. Those measures are designed to be aligned to the strategic organization's framework and the strategy, be realistically attainable, be time-bound with a very specific target date for those things to be accomplished. They will be evaluated regularly by the staff for progress and performance towards accomplishment of those goals, and then reviewed by the appropriate level of city leadership. Objective number one is the city, or the customer-focused excellence. That is to provide superior service that meets or exceeds the requirements and expectations of the community. We have 3 goals. I won't read them all to you, and 6 supporting action plans that address those goals. Objective number 2, workforce focus excellent, to be the organization of choice by attracting, training, and retaining a competent, capable, and cohesive workforce. There are 2 specific strategic goals with 7 supporting action plans that address them. Objective number 3, the sustainability focus excellence, to enhance the environmental quality for our current and future residents, visitors, and businesses. There are a total of 6 goals with 6 supporting action plans. Objective number 4, have a safe, beautiful city with world-class beaches, economic, health, and recreation opportunities, and enhanced mobility. Again, there are 6 goals along with 7 action plans. Objective 5 is to ensure financial excellence in the city's ability to provide essential municipal services. There are 2 strategic goals and 5 supporting action plans that back them up. Objective number 6, process excellence, is to optimize the city's processes and operations to provide cost-effective services that efficiently utilize the city's resources. Here we have 6 goals and 6 supporting action plans. And that completes the overview.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Nice overview. Any questions, comments from the City Commission? Seeing none, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your help with coming up with these strategic plan for the city. I know it's a framework that helps guide us on our journey to provide the best for our residents and visitors, and I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Sir, if I may,
Yes.
personal thing, I'd like to say that I've been doing this a lot around the country with a lot of different organizations, and your staff has absolutely been the best staff I've ever worked with in doing this.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. Mr. Harrison, that's definitely a testament to your work and leadership, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Very good. Anything further, Mr. Reyes?
No, sir, that concludes the presentation.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right, that takes us up to audience to be heard. Do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard, Mr. Kervin?
Yes, Mayor. We have 12 speakers.
Okay.
First speaker, Pastor Wesley, followed by Pastor Miguel Cruz, followed by Pastor Ron Harper, followed by Pat Anderson.
And do I understand also that they have a presentation that's been cleared by Ms. King?
Yes, there was a presentation, but we've been having challenges to be able to have it presented, so not sure what the pastors desire to do here.
Okay. Well, very, very good. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, to the commissioners. It is a plum-pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege.
Pastor, can I get your name and address?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Minister Tim Griffith, 20871 Northwest 1st Street. Again, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, to the commissioners here on the dais, it is a plum-pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege to be able to present to you all and to present to this dais and to the City of Pompano at large, this wonderful group that stands before you. We're about 15 strong now. We also open for others to join in. It's called PPP. You know, when we had COVID, PPP bailed us out. So this group of citizens, parents, pastors, police, and the people are here in the committee to do three things. We're going to educate, we're going to inspire, and we're going to rebuild our community one person at a time. Before I come back to the mic and then give it to Pastor Harper, I just want everybody to be able to introduce themselves and say their name.
Pastor Harold Wesley, Newborn Holiness Church here in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Ernestine Martin, I'm a member of the Worldwide Christian Center in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Pastor Ron Harper, I Am Kingdom Ministries International in Deerfield.
Good evening, Mayor and all the commissioners. Pastor Miguel Cruz from Un Nuevo Empezar Ministries.
Mr. Mayor, the scripture talks about in Ezekiel 22, making up the gap and standing in the hedge. And that's what this group of pastors, people, police, we formed March, been together for 7 months in the Northwest community based on the double homicides and a lot of the shootings that we've had. And we've been meeting twice a month, second and fourth Wednesday, with Captain Stallings and his staff. And they've been working closely with us, doing a yeoman's job. And we've done a lot of different things in the community. And I want Pastor Harper to come up and just kind of explain to you the genesis of what PPP did and what we've started.
Good evening again, and we honor each and every one of you. Good evening, Commissioner Perkins. God bless you. And again, as Minister Griff was stating, the purpose of this group is to bridge the gap between the police, our public figures, and our community. What we've done so far is assisted many times when there's a tragedy that happens within our community. With working along with BSO, this group is called in a lot of times to try to bridge the gap, to try to get the people to say something when they see something, and to also get them to trust more with our police department. One of the things that we've done, even with the latest tragedy that we had with the helicopter coming down, we also have partners within our organization, within this group that also assist with housing, assist with rent, assist with getting groceries and those. So some of the residents that happened that was in that particular apartment complex, we were able to assist them just because this group was formed. So we've been connected to an organization called Community-Based Connections. It's based, we are also in about 7 different schools throughout Broward County to where we do after-school care. So we're just here to just kind of bridge the gap, to be that voice to the community when our police can't make that connection. We as pastors and people, we help to bridge that. So we're honored to be in front of you, this awesome panel, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more things in the future. Thank you.
And to that, City of Pompano, here's PPP, City of Pompano. God bless you.
Yes.
One last thing, go ahead.
Good evening. We just wanted to also make you aware that Captain Stallings is here tonight, and it's a partnership with BSO, because there's a taboo in the community that says snitches get stitches, but we're here to say and implement, if you see something, say something. So God bless you all, and thank you for the great work that you are all doing.
Thank you all. Thank you all for what you're doing. Seriously, that's yes. Yeah, that's, the PPP concept, it's been formed, and it's a partnership, and it is definitely a laudable goal and work that you all are doing, and thank you so much, and God bless you for the inroads that you're making to make our community a better place. Seriously, thank you for that.
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor?
Can I just ask, do you guys, for anyone who wants to get involved in your community, do you have, with PPP, do you have a website or Facebook? How can people reach you?
Yes, we do. We have a Facebook page. It's at PPP, just those 3 letters, at PPP. Or if you like, you can call 305-494-5081. Again, that number is 305-494-5081. Or you can like and tag and share us on Facebook at PPP. We're here for the community. God bless.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Next speaker?
Pat Anderson. You're next, Pat.
Good evening, Ms. Anderson. Just name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be late. I thought I was number 4. I'm Pat Russell Anderson, 30-year resident in Pompano Beach, 33064-7701. And I'm here with a audience to be heard. And what I am here for is that there are too many attorneys, and there's only one solution. And I'd like to do it for the National Wildlife Federation, for Broward County Property Appraisers, for Army Corps of Engineers. I'd like to create the Exchange Club Park West at the Pink Church. And I want to avoid probate. Mark, let's talk about the smash. And I have a package for you each that shows you a rendering of what I'd like to do. Of course, I'd like to have our cul-de-sac returned. We're going to need a maintenance dig. And the infrastructure at the church is very bad. And that's what caused the tree to fall. It was not a storm. Our infrastructure there has got to be redone, and there's no reason to change the zip codes. That's no reason to change zip codes. The house next to me is now in Lighthouse Point. He's in 33062. It's what it should be, Pompano Beach. But they've changed it with one attorney, did it for his client. They wanted my house too. So I got code certified. It's a mess. So please, I'm writing a little note to Andrea McGee. Pat Anderson would like to help enlarge the entrance to the Hillsborough Inlet. I'd like to reclaim submerged land the people have lost during dredging without pipes on the sands in the south. Let's make the dredge scoop up ocean sand and go north and dump it at Hillsborough Beach and Deerfield, where it came from. Let's return our sands to the north and take lessons from the way they build the Palms Islands in Dubai. Take lessons to the way Cat Key has an extra dredge that they have a huge inlet that goes fast between Gun Key and Cat Key. They've got an extra barge out there, digs it up, goes through the inlet and puts it back to where it came from, on the other side of Cat Key. And they've been doing that and doing that. There's no need to have pipes on our private land out front there.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, so I'll
Thank
give
you.
these all to you. And I think Karen has one. On here.
Very, very good. Next speaker, Kervin.
Karen Turner, followed by Tondra King, followed by Vicente Thrower, followed by Jocelyn Jackson. Karen Turner.
Thank you, Pat.
Hi, you ready?
Give it just another minute. Very good, thank you. Just name and address for the record, please.
My name is Karen Turner. My address is 1969 Northwest 5th Way in Pompano. And I'm calling, and I'm up before you for a complaint with your code enforcement. And I went to selected meeting or the court, whatever you call it. They didn't want to hear what I had to say about. There was a huge tree in my yard. And one day, there was a chunk of the tree that fell. If my granddaughter had been playing this, it would have hit my granddaughter and killed her. That's how big the tree limb was. And I noticed that there was a police officer also riding down a highway, and he died from a tree prong, you know. So my complaint is, they cited me with the statute, and I had my own statute, which is an exemption to this case. They didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear any assumptions. They just said, go ahead and do what you have to do to correct this issue. So, and then I have a letter also from the state where it says it should not be a hardship on any low economic person. So, that's where I stand.
Mr. Berman, should she get with your office on this? It's a code enforcement matter. I'm not sure where to go, or should start with probably start with Mario. And so, can you get with Mr. Harrison right here at the end of this and get his business card, and he can put you with our code enforcement folks to figure out what's going on. And yeah, we're not familiar with it, of course, but yeah, if you could get with Mr. Harrison, and he'll direct you to the right person with staff.
I'll get with him now or after the meeting?
No, right now. Just go over there, and he'll get a business card to get somebody to get with you. Thank you.
Tondra King.
Good evening. Tundra King, 124 Northwest 15th Street, Pompano Beach. Last night, there was a meeting for Pompano Terrace and Sanders Park. And I'm always glad to go to those meetings to see how can I help, what can I learn new, and what can be done differently. So last night at the meeting, there were 2 BSO lieutenants, and Mayor, one of the lieutenants was just extremely unprofessional. I was very disheartened. I love the way Commissioner Perkins handled it as it relates to his unprofessionalism toward the gentleman that was talking. When we come to those meetings, we're coming to share about our community and things that we can improve upon to make it better. Anybody that came out last night and the pouring down lightning and rain, they made a sacrifice to come there. So obviously what the gentleman had to share was important. And I just didn't think he took us very serious. And it's not the first time I've seen his condescending behavior. And Commissioner Perkins handled it in the most professional manner that it should have been handled. The lieutenant did apologize to us and say that he, perhaps could have used different words. But if this is who's at the top that's representing us, then if we're supposed to see something, say something, then I need to be able to trust you. And I might remember how condescending you just were to me at the HOA meeting. So I'm thankful for Captain Stallings and the relationship that we do have, and I'm grateful for the work that he does for our community. But if we're going to have these lieutenants in place in our communities, coming to these HOA meetings where we're coming to solicit help or where we're coming to offer suggestions, I don't think we should be spoken to in that derogatory manner. And like I said, although he did apologize, I just think it was something we have to really, really take a close look at people that are coming into our communities, especially if they're on a supervisory level, when there are a lot of trust in the Northwest community as it relates to Broward Sheriff's Office. And I know that that can change if we try to, make friends and build allies and not speak the way he spoke last night. So we will continue to come to the meetings to voice our concerns, but we just want to be heard, and we don't want our concern to be downplayed as if it didn't matter. The matter was over some signs that are being posted throughout the community as it relates to maybe buying junk cars or if you want to sell your homes. And his suggestion was a lot faster to just take it down yourself. And I just didn't think that was a good suggestion. If you ask me to pick up a piece of paper in my yard, I'm probably more apt to do that, but I'm not walking around to be able to cut down zip ties to remove these signs. And we were just saying we hope we could get some help with code enforcement for that particular job that belongs to someone. Those signs just say, come in our community, we don't care. So I think it is important that we get the signs moved, but I also think it's important that we are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you coming forward and bringing that up. And I'm Commissioner Perkins?
Yes, Mayor. Yeah, the Sanders Park and the Pompano Terrace meeting was last night. And I think the biggest discussion was talking about the signs that are all posted up underneath the stop signs saying junk cars. And they're just all over the place. And Pastor Miguel Cruz took some time out today and picked some of those signs up. And Mario was aware of it, and he did the same thing this morning. So we really appreciate the volunteer help, and we really appreciate Mario for helping us out on that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Ms. King. Mr. Thrower.
Vincente Thrower, 1890 Northwest 6th Avenue. Mayor, I don't know if you all got the invite about the community meeting our state rep had last night at the EPAT Larkin Center. Did you all get an invite? Okay, well, we will send you the video. Well, matter of fact, I spoke to Ms. Sandra King, and there's a video. Did you all see the video about 11 days ago on Channel 4 talking about our schools in Pompano Beach, Markham and Blanchile? No. I think you all should go and YouTube it. Our schools, though they are under the school board, this body still has a fiduciary responsibility to hold the school board of Broward County responsible. There's no way that Blanchile should be looking and falling apart in areas that are safety areas. And Markham Elementary walked in today, the president of our booster club walked in today with former Sheriff Jenny, and immediately when you walk into the place where our kids are supposed to be a brand new portable, you can smell the mold and mildew. Mayor, the superintendent, though he's new, the board members have a fiduciary responsibility to be held accountable by this body on how they make sure that our schools are safe for our family and friends and our kids. It is not being taken serious. Channel 4 exposed all of it, and how this body hasn't been given a video of it to let you know. That makes us look real horrible, especially if we're talking about tourism. Is this how we let our schools be treated? Run down, mold and mildew, but in the eastern schools? But when you go out west, brand new buildings, Mayor. We need the mayor, council, and the city manager to call the school board and say, we need to have a real meeting. Because if you all can't handle our schools, turn them over to our city. We need to do something. We cannot have children going and every day being in mold and mildew infested schools, trees growing out the roof. This ain't New York. They ain't Park Avenue type of growing. That's mold and mildew. They growing because the mildew on top of the roof. Mayor, you are our mayor. You elected large, but all of y'all hold a responsibility to our kids. And we cannot let them just sit around and say, we're gonna fix it and piecemeal it together all the time. The kids have to walk to lunch. And look, imagine little children carrying lunch because they can't be in their cafeteria, can barely hold the trays up and dropping their food on the ground. Teachers have to go and work in that environment every day. I ask of you, Mayor, today, if you don't mind, asking the city manager to call a meeting with the school board and let's figure out why is our school still being treated like this. Because you can't be talking about building all these units down in MLK and talking about Markham and still looking the way it looked. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thoreau. I appreciate your comments about the school systems and the situation in some of our local schools. It is disappointing. I was out at Markham actually with Debbie Hickson, the at-large school board member, prior to school opening, and the conditions there are not what they should be. And yes, we do work with our school system, our school board members to try and impact change. They have a new superintendent, as we all know now. Let's hope that makes some kind of a difference, but that, of course, is one of the reasons why this board voted to pursue opening our own charter school, which that's still in the offing. I know Mr. Harrison's working on that, but thank you for those comments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker.
Jocelyn Jackson, followed by Sarika Peterson, followed by Ed Phillips.
Jocelyn Jackson, good evening. How are you?
Good.
The panel. I'm here today to speak on behalf of some things that I have witnessed that's going on inside the community. The first order of business, I noticed on your Facebook page, Mayor, the Botanical Gardens was awarded $500,000 for constructions. That's for the children's classroom. So the $500,000, it was cultural grant money. Could you tell me how did that come about to be cultural grant money? How they identifying the application for this $500,000 that was given for the Botanical Gardens?
Well, it's under our Cultural Affairs Department, which is under our Assistant City Manager Earl Bosworth's direction, but we apply for grants all the time at various places, and that particular one came through the Cultural Division of the state.
Okay, with it being cultural, and that's what my concern when how that word is used for cultural. Now, is the cultural identifying the Northwest District when it identifies as culture, when that application is being filled out? How is cultural identified? And reason why I'm asking this, Mayor, because I encountered a situation after I had my event over at the park. So I want to get some clarity here, because one thing I won't stand for any of you or anybody to say where I can't come. If I have not committed a crime, I have not violated code of ethics, any such nature, to say where I'm not aware, where I can't, where I'm prevented to show up anywhere, at any function and at any event. So I got a great concern about that. So when you're receiving culture dollars, and that box is checked for African American, how these fundings come about, guess what? That includes myself, my loved ones, and everybody else that's in this city. So that's, even if it's a crime, the crime belongs to me, and I'm gonna go anywhere in the city where that crime has been identified as kosher dollars. That's the first order of business. The next thing is, I would like to say and congratulate Miriam Carello. Miriam Carello have placed many more African Americans in homes than anybody. I'm offended because when I take the initiative to help the residents to become homeowners, for the first time homeowners, it's very embarrassing that she's being under attack from individuals stating that what she's not doing in the community, and she is. She is, and that is unacceptable. And the next thing, Major Atkins, you or Sandra King, both of you, I'm easy to find. Please contact me when you need to share some information regarding myself.
Very good.
I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next speaker.
Serica Peterson, followed by Ed Phillips, followed by Allison Arrell, followed by David Hall.
Serica Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. I just have a curious question. I noticed when we came back that the commission seat switched. Is there a reason behind that switch? And I mean, I'm just curious.
It's alphabetical order.
So it just moved for alphabetical order?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's alphabetical and then vice mayor, mayor.
Okay.
I thought Commissioner Perkins just missed me.
Very good. Thank you for that, Serica. Mr. Phillips, just name and address for the record.
Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, my name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach. I came down here in support of someone who asked me to come down here. Obviously, that individual isn't here, but since I'm here, I do try to take advantage of my presence and the things that I'm concerned about. I am here, since I am here, I wanted to talk about the homeless issue, which is beating a dead horse. I am certain of that. But I do want to take this opportunity to say that BSO responds admirably. They also have another unit that came out today from the Public Works Department, I believe was, under Mr. Ketchum. Very much impressed. They do respond. I must tell you, Mayor, and I'm going to come back a little later on the strategic plan initiative. You know, I was thinking about calling a workshop or a meeting myself, of which I do have the ability to gather resources about, but I'm at the point, well, what the hell to do? And I think we're going to be talking about that a little later on in some shape, form, or manner. We just cannot say that it is an issue, it is a problem. We have to figure out some way of moving them along. And I don't say that unaffectionately. I don't say that without some form of empathy. I said that I have a business where I pay $3,000+ a month, plus. And it's difficult for me to come to my business at 7:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I have a gang. It used to be 3 or 4. Now it's 20 or 30. People line out in front of my business. Now, we say from a compassionate point, we don't want to harass them. Oh, they're down on their luck. Listen, I'm about to be homeless. Now, let's have some priorities here. The thing is, okay, if we need to move them along, let's move them along until they're tired of being in one spot. And if they go to another spot, let's move them along. Now, the other part here is if there's some resources in some shape, form, or manner, let's try to identify those folks who want the resources, because there may be some folks who just don't want them, but there are some that do. So try to figure that out. There's probably some other things I want to talk about. I'm going to come back on the strategic plan initiative, but the homeless issue is beginning to bother me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. On the homeless issue, I'm not sure of the situation with your plaza there, but we do need cooperation from landowners, property owners to participate in no trespass programs. BSO can only do so much. I mean, if they're on private property, unless there is a no trespass program in place, BSO can't just go up there and move people along. But BSO, of course, they are aware of situations like that. I know that Ms. King, she also had a situation where her school is, and I know BSO worked on that. But we need the cooperation of the property owners also. But thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Mayor?
Commissioner Perkins.
I think it was the last meeting, Commissioner Fournier brought up the fact that maybe, perhaps we should form a homeless board. And I thought that was a good idea because there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And I guess by November, it's going to get worse because a lot of the people from the north will be coming, of course, this way as well. But I think it's a good idea if we have staff work on trying to form a homeless board to assist Cassandra with the issues we have regarding homelessness.
Yep, I think that the city manager was going to look into what Fort Lauderdale's doing or other communities are doing and just kind of get a report back to us on what's happening out there.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Next speaker.
Allison Aurelio.
Good evening, everyone. Allison Aurelio, 2481 Northeast 12th Terrace. I'm an 11-year homeowner here in Pompano Beach. I'm here in regards to the streetlights in my neighborhood. They're extremely bright. They've been up for a couple of years. I've made some phone calls, and I was told that there would be some changes made, like some shields put on, because they're so bright that I actually feel vulnerable in my home. I live by myself, and if I get out of my car at night, so I've had cars stop because they see me getting out of my car. I have a carport, and they could see right under the carport. All of my privacy has been taken from my home, from me living there. I used to like to sit on my front porch at night. That was my peaceful time, and doing that now, they're like stadium lights. I don't know if you've driven through my neighborhood at night, but they're awful. And I bought a home, I chose a home so I can have privacy. They actually shine into my backyard, and they are equivalent to stadium lights. I know nobody in my neighborhood is happy with them. I was told by, I called Horatio Donovich. He was very nice, and he offered to put up a shield on the streetlights, the new streetlight that's in front of my house. He said it would go 6 inches down, and it would add some privacy so it didn't reflect right onto my home. It didn't make any changes I can see. Sometimes with an angle during the daytime, I can see that shield, and it doesn't go down enough at all. I was also told that the preceding streetlights would come down, and they're still up. So in front of my home, I live by myself. I am blinded, and when I'm there, I'm vulnerable. I know, because they walk by, they see me when I come and go at night or early in the morning to work. Sometimes I leave at 4 or 5 in the morning. There's people walking by, and they're just staring at me. They're staring me down while I am in my driveway. And I just don't feel safe with those streetlights. I know it's kind of weird to hear that, but if you could understand, they're just not safe to me because, like I said, I have all these notes here. I feel vulnerable, and I feel unsafe with those streetlights. Horatio said they're there for my protection, but I don't really feel they are. I could see, what he's trying to say, but if you can go down my street at night, they're blinding. When I open my door, it's like I literally do this sometimes. They're really bright. So I'm just asking if you can please. I have two, the old street light and the new one right on. I have a U-shaped driveway, so there's no chance of me even planting palm trees. I would plant something, but I don't even have the option to do that the way my driveway is. So I was at least told that the old street light would come down, but it's still there. If there's any way, you guys could change the bulb, put a shield up or something, but I live there, it's my home, and I love my home. Like I said, I've been there for 11 years, and I'm out of time. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Harrison, could you have Mr. Danovich get back in touch with her? Maybe there's a different type of shield could be used or something. I'm sure he has knowledge of the situation. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to give you my card before you leave, but it has been a process. Removing those super bright halogens, I mean, those hurt, but we're in the process. It is taking longer. Often FP&L is pulled off from doing the work in our area when there are hurricanes, and they're employed to go help the other communities. So it has a process, and I'm scheduled to get an update shortly from Horatio, but I want to give you my card, my phone number, so we can make contact, okay? Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker?
Well, Mayor, the next speaker actually will be speaking on an item on the agenda, so he withdrew his request to speak on his audience to be heard, and that concludes audience to be heard.
Very good, all right, well, thank you for that. That takes us up to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion approving items 1, 2, and 9 through 12?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to item 3 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and accepting the strategic plan for 2023 through 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. This item was pulled by Commissioner Perkins. Commissioner?
Yes, I pulled this for, excuse me, the resident, Mr. Ed Phillips.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Please come forward.
Ed Phillips, 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach. Mayor, Commissioners, first of all, I wasn't aware on the strategic plan initiative when you had a discussion, you had 3 minutes, so that means I got to rush it through. Initially, first of all, let me say this. In this community, in the city of Pompano, African Americans are roughly 33% of the population of the city of Pompano. And so I don't mean any harm what I'm about to say, but I need to say it. When we have these entities that come into our neighborhood, into our city, and come up with strategic plans, we'd like to see some African Americans have some input into that. In addition to that, we'd like to also see some African Americans be on those folks' staff who are coming up with these wonderful ideas about what to do for this whole city. And having said that, I need to make that point. Now, moving on real quick, because I am trying to get all this in that I don't like doing it just quick, but I'm going to do it. I am definitely not for anybody talking about the city of Pompano having a school. When you start talking about a school, you're talking about double taxation. You're talking about now we're going to open up a school, run a school, we're going to need some additional money that we're already paying to have schools in the community anyway. Let's go where the money is at, that we're paying taxes at the school board. If we need to strong arm them, then let's start strong arm them. Everybody else seems to be doing it but us. Now, having said that part, I need to talk about the strategic plan. Back to this. The resiliency, seeking innovative solutions to obstacles and challenges. Boy, what a big statement. I am going to talk about it until you're tired of me talking about it. Affordable housing, we as this city need to define what affordable housing is. Not the U.S. government, because they seem to be on some national scale. Well, they can do it, but they seem to be on a national scale that does not take into consideration our real workforce population here, because $2,000, $3,000 a month is out of somebody's mind. And I'm going to keep saying that. If we have a strategic plan where it says seeking innovation solutions and obstacles or challenges, we need to start actually doing that. We need to actually start doing that, because it may not seem like it's something we need to talk about because we talk about the marketplace and we're trying to attract all these folks here. But listen, we got to maintain the population. Our kids now, a lot of the kids that are here, they have to come home, not because they don't have jobs, but because they can't afford to move into some of these places. It is terrible that for all these years we've maintained this neighborhood, this community, and we wish that this community would be built and we have nice areas, and then we can't afford to benefit from them. The strategic plan, it looks good, it sounds good. There's a couple other things I'd like to talk about, community benefit component of it. These corporations come into the neighborhood, and essentially there's a group of folks who are running around talking about they represent us and seem to be ciphering off benefits that should be going to some of these schools and some of these nonprofit organizations. If you know of those groups or organizations that are doing that, shame on all of us who are allowing those folks to benefit
unfairly and taken away from those components of this community that deserve these benefits. Thank you, Mayor. I am very disappointed that I only had 3 minutes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Further input from the public, please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Commissioner Perkins?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I agree with everything Mr. Phillips has said, because we do have I think 33% of African Americans in Pompano is a large population. And I think we need to do more in the city as far as getting more people involved when we make decisions when it comes to African Americans. We need to be more involved as far as staff is concerned so that we can connect better with the community as to the needs. Because if you have people making decisions that are not from the community and don't know about the community, you're not really covering the whole base of the community. And we have to take into consideration that we do have a lot of Hispanics in the community now, a lot of Brazilians as well as, other Hispanic people. So I think we need to take that in consideration as we grow with, in the city.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Commissioner Fournier.
I had the same reaction when I looked at the presentation. The first thing I wrote down was diversity. Even just flipping through the slides and the pictures, it didn't really look like Pompano. So I do think it's important that the final product, both in words, pictures, and everything, and in the input that goes into it, from the start to the final product, represents all of our city, which includes diversity and also talks more about affordability and things that actually impact residents' lives. So, and how we're going to think about those things going forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Further commission discussion. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, no, I think, I know we all the commission up here talks to the strategic planning group to help come to these. And I know they're really kind of mission statements that we can all work on to really define them more. And I think that's where I'd like to see our next steps go, is that where we can all work for our independent districts and for the city as a whole to really whittle down how we can apply these more and more to take care of our population. Because, we have people from all over. We have our original people from here. I know my district has a huge French-speaking population that's down here. The Brazilian community, Latin American community, everyone, we're all Pompano. We're all in this together. We're all trying to keep and make the city as awesome as possible. But I do think, we should take this and then just continue to talk and all of our things to really take these mission points and then flesh them out as much as we can. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harton?
Yes. Item number 4 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a license agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and Express Youth Development Institute, Incorporated, to provide and promote a youth track and field coaching and instruction for ages 5 through 17 at Mitchell Moore Park, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. This item was pulled by Commissioner Fournier. Commissioner?
I pulled item 6.
I pulled this one.
Oh, I apologize. Okay. I had that. Okay. Then Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, I pulled this, the track and field, this program. Of course, this is a license agreement. I understand that. I support it 100%, but I want to encourage some of the other commissioners to attend some of these track and field meets. It's amazing to see 4- and 5-year-olds, running around the track. It's just great to see that. And saying that, Mr. Joe Ballard, what are the age group starts at what? Is it 3 or 4?
Mr. Ballard, you can come to the microphone and just introduce yourself if you could, name and address. Appreciate it.
Joe Ballard, 1861 Northwest 7 Terrace. And good evening, and thank you for this opportunity again. It's pretty much as far as the resolution postponed from July. We got together, my group and Mark's group, and it actually had been resolved. We came to an agreement on that.
Good.
But I think going forward, we're talking about another issue, which, and my answer to your question is, if they're 4-year-olds turning 5, they're allowed to run.
Okay.
We fine tune as we go along with our rules in the league and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's very exciting. It's been almost 30 years with me, so
Long time.
I'm tired, but I'm not tired. Yeah, but
Since we have you here, I know this is a license agreement, but can you give us a little bit more history on the Express Youth Development?
some of the history.
Yes.
Well, we developed actually back about 1998, 99, but by the time we'd done all the paperwork, and we actually started out Blanchile. It was matter of fact, it's a dead end over by Blanchile. We weren't allowed to use the track, so we had about 10, 12 kids, a lot of them family, and from that we decided to, hey, let's push this a little further. And the following years, driving cars, GPS was very limited back then, and Mayor Lockins, Pat Lockins, saw us coming back one day, a group of 10 cars, and he said, what's going on here? And I explained it to him, and we picked up from there, and we've been in agreement with the city, and it gives us the opportunity to meet other people, give the kids the opportunity to get out and bond with kids in other parts of the country, state, as well as the county. And I'd like to thank, again, Mark, for giving us opportunities. Like I said, we sat down and we came to a conclusion in this in, probably less than an hour, weren't we? So we just trying to move it forward further. It's been a long time, and we still got a long ways to go. It's called Kids Are Steady Coming. And we've been sitting down and talking with my favorite city manager right there, and we're trying to get some things going to try to accommodate us, sort of like some of the other cities around us, because 30 years is a long time, and we like to see improvement in anything we're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay, very good. I know you were here a few months ago, I would say February or March, and you came to us asking for a track to be placed at the Apollo Park, I guess Ultimate Park, and you never did get back with me on that, so could you?
Yeah, and I apologize for that, but and I thought about you after I read that article in the New Pelican.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and we've been speaking on terms of that. Matter of fact, Mark's group and Mr. Harrison's group, we all been going back and forth. Nothing resolved yet, but we listen to one another, and that's a start. And hopefully we can come to some kind of conclusion, some resolution to accommodate us as far as getting another track. And we're at this point right now, whereas even with the track, we haven't reached the point of the magnitude of the track. We're talking seating, concession accommodation, stuff like that. But right now, we're focused on just a track. We can get one.
Okay. Good. All right, well, just keep me posted, because I do know there are a lot of grants out there for tracks. And let's see what we can do to maybe include it with the Ultimate Park. I know everything is pretty much finalized, but we haven't broke ground yet, so perhaps that's something we can look into, or you can call me.
And I appreciate that. And again, I apologize, but every time I pick up the phone to call you, I'm stepping into something else. See, when you're retired, you're not retired, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But I thank you again.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Is there further input from the public on this item?
Mayor, if I may, I'd just like to say that it's been a great 10-year partnership with Joe and his program. He's got over 200 boys and girls, and what he's doing is making an impact in their lives.
Very good. Thank you for that. Public input?
Jocelyn Jackson, I want to say to Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate you working with, our community. Me and you don't agree all the time, but we come to the middle, and I appreciate that from you. I always love that about you. And I be so excited when I go to the track meets. So I'm cheering. I was born in Deerfield Beach. That's exit 42. But my mom her family is from here, so we always been in the city of Pompano Beach. So I'm running from side to side at the track meets, and I love it. And these kids be so far down in Miami participating in these track meets. And like the guy was saying, the 4-year-olds, I love to watch them. Boy, them little feet, they think they be moving, but they be so cute when they be running. So I want to say thank you for allowing this program to go on long as it's been going, because it's been going a long time. I'm 53, so it's been going on a long time. Not that many years, but it's been going on a long time. So I want to say thank you for keeping this particular activity going, and also just elaborate on the grant funding for the moving forward to add on additional for the Multiplex Center is an awesome idea, because we are working with, in this budget that we just passed with the Sable, the one that you guys had to re-vote on. That's probably gonna be in this little budget. So we want everybody to work together as a team.
Very good.
Because I stand for representation. That's me. So we need to be fair.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public, please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. Mr. Ballard is my cousin. And when we talk about when that project started, and he would talk about those family members, we are the family members that started that. And for him to be doing this, him and his wife been doing this for years as a community service, volunteering to work with the youth. I would like to see the city put some money where their mouth is with this program. It's been going on for years. I understand the licensing agreement to use it. I think that's a lot, but when we implemented that grant bidding process, programs like this that add substance to the kids that's already here get left out, because anybody can bid into our granting process. So we have big organizations like Children's Services and all them, they're able to bid in that. So I would like to see a way that we can make that program benefit more of those grassroots organizations that for ample amount of years they've been doing it. But great job for the licensing agreement, but I would like to see them do more in the community. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Could I just ask, for anyone who's watching at home and wants to get involved, do they contact Parks and Rec, or how does one get their child involved in this program?
No, that's Joe Ballard's group directly. We provide services such that we pay for the use of the Blanche Ely track and Pompano High School and things of that nature, but we're not involved in the program. That's Joe and his wife, and they do an excellent job with those kids.
In that case, I'd just like to invite Mr. Ballard to come just promote himself and tell us how to get in contact, tell the audience how to get in contact with you.
Yes, is there a website, a telephone number, an application?
Right.
Yeah. Mr. Ballard, please come forward. It's a microphone.
It's like a track meet.
Okay. You can contact me at my phone number 754-366-9918, or my wife at 561-449-1030. And we usually start conditioning around December. Our home is Mitchell Moore Community Center, and our home track is Blanche Ely right now. So what we do, we meet people, we have meetings. The city accommodates us to have meetings with parents and stuff like that, and we I tried electronic applications, but it's kind of cost effective. So, and I'm a hands-on person. I personally like to meet people anyway. So we have a lot of applications out at the park, and I even used to give them out at McNair or the Boys and Girls Club. But you can reach me. I'm always, you can always get me on my cell phone. And I can put you in the right direction, because I'm getting a lot of calls right now, and I'm building a database of people to contact exactly when we get our dates together, as far as which way we're going and how we're going, and they want to know the fees and the ages and things like that.
Very good.
Excellent. And yeah, definitely let us know once you get your dates set up, when they're going to be.
I certainly will. Right now, we're not sure, but it's usually around, we start getting into condition around the December, around the break, the kids' break, because we want to go full-fledged when the new year hit. After the holidays in January, we start preparing for the season, which our season begins the first week of March every year. And we go all the way until the Junior Olympics, which usually is around August, around the last of July, the first of August, the Junior Olympics, and that's where you meet the best of the best. But it's exciting. I invite all of you to come out, you know.
Very good.
And you have about, what, 200
Thank
kids?
you. That's
Yes, pretty much. And you know, we get a lot of first-timers, and you know how kids are. And we don't press kids, we don't push kids to participate. We let them. You know, we get a lot of parents pushing their kids sometimes, but I advise our group and our staff, we don't make you run. Because some of them love it, and some of them never ran before. They come out crying. You know how kids are, and you see them 2 or 3 days down the road, and they don't want to go home. So, you know, that's what I like, and I like the fellowshipping part of it. I told them our staff are responsible for the medals. My responsibility is the well-being, the safety of these kids, and just help them to enjoy themselves. First place, last place, it don't matter to me. You know, I just like to see them having fun.
very good. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Vice, that's it. Very good. Commissioner Perkins, anything further? Done? Any further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item number 5 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a service contract between the City of Pompano Beach and the Christmas Palace LLC, providing for holiday lighting and decor services, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Moved and second for discussion. This item was pulled by Commissioner Moss. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. On Exhibit C, it lists all of the various places where you're going to be doing Christmas decorations. With the exception of Collier City, Collier City and Atlantic Boulevard, I asked you to remove. Are any of these places either new for the first time this year, or have other places been deleted from the list?
No new sites. We have added some new attractions, but no new sites. And there are 2 tree lightings. One will be at Annie Gillis Park, and the other one will be at the beach this year. So there is not a 3rd tree that we are contemplating or anticipating at the moment.
So everything listed here has been decorated in the past?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Very good. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Vice Mayor.
Were we able to figure out if we can light the median from the bridge to US 1 on Atlantic?
So I have determined, been advised that there is no electrical outlets in that median. So at the present time, there will be no lighting.
Okay. Could we possibly look into trying to figure that out for future things? Because it just makes Yuletide so dark.
I think the city manager can aptly look into that for us.
Great, thank you.
Sure, why not?
Thank you very much.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 6 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, supporting the Northeast 10th Street Complete Streets Improvement Project, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. This item was pulled by Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm concerned about Northeast 10th Street. It is one of the suggested alternate routes going east-west in our city, and I think it's seen quite an uptick in traffic given the construction on Atlantic Boulevard. In the postponed item, there were proposed speed tables and roundabouts, and I noticed those are not in the backup here. Are those eliminated from the plan?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner John Swaropoulos, City Engineer. They are eliminated because that stretch is not really conducive to speed tables and roundabouts and so forth. However, what we want to do is, the striped medians that act as buffers for the bidirectional traffic, and they have the turn lanes. We want to convert those to raised, curbed islands, which will, in effect, do the same thing, provide traffic calming, similar to Harbor Drive, Cypress, and
Okay. Do we have a traffic count on that road?
I think Major Atkins requested that from the county, and I don't think that they did one recently.
I'd love to see that, just as we think through how that compares to other roads in our city, what kind of traffic we are seeing on that road, and make sure it's the appropriate solution given how much traffic is on that road. My kids golf, so I have the opportunity to walk along there, and I did my own informal, unscientific traffic count, and it was pretty high. I wouldn't be surprised if there were 4,000 to 6,000 cars in each direction.
It's a major city road. It's, a through street from, as you know, Dixie to US 1, so I'd imagine it as well.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure when I saw speed tables and roundabouts, it seemed like a lot of cars to be navigating that, since this is one of the important ways to get east-west in our city right now. So I want to make sure we have the right solution for the amount of traffic that's on that road. And then this was, it sounds like it's like a beautification project also with these.
It's beautification and safety, traffic calming related. It's through the MPO, the C-SLIP program, Complete Streets Local Initiative Program, and it's up to $3 million grant that we can get.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue in Pompano. What do you mean by traffic calming on this street? First, I've been going to that park, the city park, since 1994, November 1st, 1994. I actually know the date. The traffic in the last year or so, since they've created this debacle over here on Atlantic and Dixie, I would have to say it may have doubled. Now, when November, December, January comes around, it's going to get even worse. People are cutting through Old Pompano all over the place. So you're going to do this thing called traffic calming when we've got, God knows, probably about 75 to 85% of the people were against this project on Atlantic and Dixie. So what is this traffic calming ordeal? Because this is basically how people are now using the street if they're going west. They're getting out of Atlantic. And unfortunately, for some of these businesses on Atlantic, they're the ones losing out, because there are some places, don't laugh, I like to go to Wendy's and McDonald's, but guess what? I'm ignoring that whole area now, and I'm going west sometimes to go home.
Okay, so it's not traffic calming in the sense that you imagine with speed tables and roundabouts and so forth. All we're doing is, if you drive down on that corridor, you will see the yellow diagonal striped medians.
Closer to the east
No, there's 8 of them, and then it goes from
when you
15
go out of the
westward.
park and you make a left heading west, they're right there.
Look at all the yellow ones. All we're doing, we're in the same footprint of that. We are proposing to put curbed landscape medians.
All right, that's not that bad. As long as you don't start putting any speed bumps, anything crazy like that, because it's, like I said, that is one street now that has really picked up in traffic.
Right.
Very good.
And,
Thank you.
we want to make it safer. We've got the shared street or the shared use paths on both sides. We've got multiple destinations. We've got, the park. We've got, the amphitheater, the soccer field, Centennial Park. So it's
Well, the amphitheater's on the other side of the park, but.
No, but sometimes
Well, I understand, but yeah, as long as you're not going to tear the street apart like and make it
Very good.
another debacle like we have over here, I don't really care.
it's
Because
beautification and safety.
It's designed to slow traffic down. That's really it. Slow traffic down, make it safer, and beautify it. Make it a safer street. That's what complete streets.
there are, I mean, I'm not on the street now, so I'm trying to picture it. There are some lines.
Yes, but in the center median
They're
between the,
confusing, actually.
it'll be less so with curbs
They're actually
and landscaping.
confusing, heading west once you leave the park. Some of the lines are like, because I've had people, they don't actually know what the heck they're doing. They'll go drive on the other side of the highway, and you almost got to drive off the road. So that does need to be fixed. But, all right, as long as you're not tearing it up like you're doing across the street over here, it's not a big deal.
Very good, thank you, sir. Further input from the public? Just name and address for the record.
David Hall, 290 Southeast 8th Court. Wasn't going to say this, but just came to the meeting tonight, and I was on Atlantic and Federal at 5:55, and I made it here before the meeting even started. So that was a nice trip for me coming down west on Atlantic Boulevard. I've heard Vice Mayor McGee talk about lighting in that area for 4 years, I think. You've been asking about it? I know zero about doing anything mechanical, but it can't be hard to run conduit under the road and get some power to the median from somewhere along the side of the road. And I hope that all the medians that we're doing, especially on Atlantic, when that's going to be a beautiful traversable area, it's going to look nice, we have power into those medians as well. So that would be great to have too. And also on that 10th, I think that's great to put those in to help calm the traffic. No matter what we do, anywhere in this city, tables, roundabouts, isn't going to stop an idiot from going 98 miles an hour and killing someone. So they're going to fly over speed humps. They're going to traverse roundabouts like a moron. So at least we could do some of the things to help that, but enforcement would probably be the best thing. When you're on Atlantic here, it backs up, right? They're doing construction, but it never backs up when BSO is out there making sure people don't block the box. It flows perfectly. So if we could get more of that and enforcement on the speed, appreciate BSO and those things, because you just fly right through Atlantic Boulevard when they're enforcing don't block the box. So just some tidbits, and I wanted to support Vice Mayor for getting some power into those.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. I've got Commissioner Segerson Eden,
Thank you,
followed by
Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that we have to, even if we just put conduit down and rough it in to get it into those median areas, that would be great. So the point I wanted to make about Northeast 10th Street is that it's been a bypass for so long. But even though it's a bypass, and I support the beautification, when you get to Dixie and 10th, when you get to that intersection, the light is calibrated so as to take 10th Street, does not get any priority, and you very often have to wait for that light a longer time than you would in a normal intersection like 6th or 3rd and Dixie. And the light seems to be shorter. So if it is truly a bypass, I think it needs to work like a bypass, and I totally understand that as a Broward traffic engineer, but it is, something like that, it's important.
You're fine.
It's important, I think, that it actually works like a bypass. I think it can work better to have a more frequent light change and coordinate those lights coming, from the north and south with the intersections like Copin or 15th and 6th, 3rd, and Atlantic. And it truly would work better and would help alleviate the traffic because it is a bypass. If you're going to a business on Atlantic Boulevard, you have to be on Atlantic Boulevard. But if you want to bypass Atlantic Boulevard, you have to use 10th, right? But it still it's easier, but it still takes, I think, longer than it should.
Understood. I can coordinate with county traffic and look at some signal timing adjustments, perhaps.
I think it's worth checking out and seeing if it can be tweaked a little bit. I'd appreciate that. I hate waiting at stoplights. Thank you.
Welcome.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Vice Mayor?
I think the beautification and that type of change on that street would have a nice effect on it. My curiosity is, do we have a construction timeline yet?
Okay, well, with the MPO, this particular C-SLIP, this program, it's 8 years out.
Okay.
And that's just their programming. It's like a 5-year design and 3-year construction. So unfortunately, we won't see these monies, assuming we're even selected, for 8 years.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. I just didn't want it to be happening while we're still under construction at Atlantic and Dixie.
All right.
So, yes, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, that takes us up to our regular agenda. Items 13 and 14 are quasi-judicial in nature, and Mr. Berman will discuss the procedures. Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mayor. Should anyone wish to testify on items number 13 and 14, or 14, they must be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination by the City Commission or by interested parties. Individuals who address the commission should state their name and whether they have been sworn. City staff will make its presentation first, followed by the applicant or anyone else wishing to testify. Following the applicant's concluding remarks, the hearing will conclude and the City Commission will make its consideration. All those who wish to testify on items number 13 and 14, or 14, please stand at this time, raise your right hand, and the city clerk will swear you in.
The evidence or testimony that you're going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right.
Very good. Item 13 is the second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, abandoning a 10-foot wide utility easement lying on the east side of Northwest 31st Avenue, approximately 350 feet south of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, commonly known as 1350 Northwest 31st Avenue, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Ms. Dolan.
Good evening, Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading of the request to abandon a 10-foot wide utility easement located at 1350 Northwest 31st Avenue. There have been no changes since first reading, and I am available to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Is the applicant present? Wish to make any presentation? We don't see the applicant. Very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, item 14 is the second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, abandoning that certain 20-foot wide alley located on a lot lying on the south side of McNabb Road, approximately 1,000 feet west of Federal Highway, and running east and west along the southern property line, commonly known as 872 East McNabb Road, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Dolan, Development Services. This is the second reading of the request to abandon a 20-foot wide alley located on property at 872 East McNabb Road. There have been no changes since first reading, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Very good. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation or comments? Seeing none, very good. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes, and that ends our quasi-judicial proceedings. Item number 15 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances zoning code by amending Sections 155.3703 Atlantic Boulevard Overlay District, AOD, and Section 155.5102 off-street parking and loading to eliminate parking reductions that result in less than one parking space per dwelling unit in residential developments, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Keystone Mills.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Commission. My name is Daniel Keystone Mills, and this is the second reading of an ordinance. I have no additional comments. There have been no changes since first reading.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? I'm sorry, Carol. Can you come forward, please, to the microphone? Just name and address for the record.
Carol Foster, 271 Southeast 12th Street, Pompano Beach. Okay, this is a lot of double talk, it sounded like. Does this mean they're going to require more parking when a new development is put in? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Keystone Mills, just briefly, just.
Yes, there was a provision in the code that allowed for potential developments to have less than one parking space per unit, and so this code amendment is seeking to rectify that so that at least one parking space is per dwelling unit.
Very good, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public, please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Fournier.
I said this at the last meeting, but I want to say it one more time, that this is a step in the right direction, but I think it's only one piece of a bigger issue with some of our parking codes that don't adjust appropriately for multiple cars in larger units. So 2 or 3 bedroom units could have, two couples in it, and you could have 3 or 4 cars. So I just think we need to constantly be evaluating what's happening in reality relative to our code. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
Yes, item 16 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 155 of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances zoning code by amending Section 155.4225, commercial visitor accommodation uses, to permit a hotel or motel use by right in the B2 zoning district, and by amending Appendix A, consolidated use table, to reflect the permitted use, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Keystone Mills.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Commission. My name is Daniel Keystone Mills, Principal Planner with Development Services. This is a public-initiated text amendment. The applicant is here should you have any questions. There has been no changes since first reading, and I'm available for any questions.
Very good, thank you for that. Does the applicant wish to make any presentation at this time?
Back shaking, he said no.
Seeing not, okay. We'll move on to public. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. This ordeal here is just going to open up a can of worms. Who knows what's going to happen next, where somebody's going to want a motel. It could be right next to a neighborhood. Doing this just doesn't make any sense. And where this is going to be put up, this is the one that's going to be across the street from the school. It just doesn't fit the area. It doesn't make any sense. But you're going to say yes anyway, so what's the difference?
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please come forward. Just name and address for the record, please.
David Hall, same address as 10 minutes ago, 290 Southeast 8th Court. I'm all for this. I happen to live in an area where we have a lot of Airbnbs moving in, and I had gunshots ring out 12:45 at night, and my son's grabbing a weapon in the house because he wants to protect himself and his sister on the other side of the house, and I had to assure him that I'm there. But that's a separate issue. I think we have a dearth of hotels in this city. We need to be able to have those things. Now, everyone wants to use motel and residential and all those things as scare tactics. They're probably going to be down-brand properties, right? It may not be a JW Marriott, it may not be a Grand Hyatt, but it could be Courtyard, Residence Inn. The hotel on Federal Highway goes right up against residential areas. The one on McNabb Road fine. What are you going to have, 2, 3, 4 cars pulling out at a time? It's not going to interfere with the traffic debacle that is McNabb Elementary, right? That's not going to be a problem. And the people who live in Ocean Monarch, I assure you consider that residential, but they overlook the Hilton Hotel. So using scare tactics of motels and low-rent places, we're not going to have Dave and Allison's Dewdrop Inn for $75 a night being built. The property in Pompano is way too expensive now, right? You're not going to put those type of joints in here. They'll probably be down brand, but that's okay. I stay at Courtyards when I travel for business and Residence Inn, so I think it's something that we need to do. We don't have a lot of options, and perhaps it'll curb the Airbnb mess that we currently are all having to suffer through because of the state of Florida. So I think it's a smart thing to do and move along with that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Ryan Zaskavitz, 61 Southeast 11th Street, Pompano. I think this is a bad idea because before I left the house, I just happened to quickly look at the zoning where these will be, let's see, you're trying to take a zone that's for something else, and you're going to, all of a sudden, you're going to put a new addendum in there that says, okay, now we can use it for this. And I started looking at where these areas are, and it's just like you guys are coming in a back door trying to find a way to get these in the zone that you want, to have more development that you want, and it's just a bad idea for the neighborhoods. And I understand he said the other hotels that are on Federal Highway and here and there, those have been zoned for that. This area has not been zoned for that, and that's what you're trying to do. It's a bad deal for all the people in the neighborhoods that live in those zones that are going to be inundated now with more building and more traffic from these hotels.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input. Next speaker, please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. I had a couple questions. B2, what is the difference between B2 and B3?
Mr. Keystone-Mills, can you explain the difference between B2 and B3? But roughly, I mean.
There's some uses that are permitted in B2 versus B3. This one being one of them, hotel and motel, is only permitted as a special exception use in B2 currently, and the applicant is proposing to allow that for permitted by right in B2. Difference between B2 and B3 are some zoning and dimensional standards, so how large a building could be in B2. It's supposed to be a little bit smaller versus the lot as a ratio as opposed to B3. But there's a lot of similarities between them as well. The total height that you can have for a building is the same between those two districts. I think the setbacks are pretty similar, so does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. I tried to do, in a short amount of time since my first time hearing about this, and from what I understand, the B2 allows for a condo hotel now, but in the event that, with a special exception, so they would have to go to the special exception, they didn't get that. But by right, they could put a condo hotel there.
Yeah, a condo hotel is by right.
By right.
Doesn't need any special
Doesn't need anything. So the applicant is saying, hey, we want to do a hotel. So a condo hotel can be 40 owners in one place versus a hotel being one owner. And I think just with the overall idea of what this city is doing, we need more hotels. We need more affordable hotels. So yeah, it may not be one of the high end, but we need them for people who are coming in who still want to be tourists in this area and find somewhere that's, you know, affordable. Not to mention, I went to State of the Art, and they just added another day to the Jazz Fest. So when you're doing 3-day festivals like that, you have more people in the city that are wanting to stay. Where are they staying? In these Airbnbs that we constantly hear about disrupting the neighborhoods. If we have a centralized location where our tourists can go, I think that could curb some of the problems, and it does help with the progression of the city. So I'm in support of this, and I hope you guys pass it. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker, please come forward. Just name and address for the record, sir.
Sean Spire, 281 Southeast 8th Court. So I do agree with a lot of the speakers that were already up here today saying we have an Airbnb problem, a lodging problem. But first of all, with that, when I look for a hotel, I want a hotel. When I want an Airbnb, I want an Airbnb. There are two separate entities in which a lodging situation is not necessarily going to fix. Next up, I agree that it is kind of opening up a can of worms, because when we look at these B2 zoning areas, it's literally labeled as community business on our map. So when we do this, we already have plenty of areas in which hotels and motels can exist. But as one of the previous speakers says, we are opening up a can of worms when it comes to this, because this does take the place of a lot of small businesses that already exist in these community business areas, as well as places like right around the corner, Legends and Wings and things. That's in a B2 district, which a hotel then or a motel could be put right on top. So as I've already sent you guys some citations for some research that I sent you guys, I just wanted you guys to look at a couple critical issues. First of all is that of crime. So a comprehensive study conducted in San Francisco, published in the Journal of Urban Planning, found a clear correlation between the proliferation of hotels and motels in these residential communities and an alarming rise in crime rates. So I sent you guys all that information in your email already. You can take a look at that study. Moving on to traffic, which McNabb is terrible already. Research published in the Transportation Research Record reveals that cities like Orlando and Miami have struggled to manage this traffic congestion caused by an influx of tourists and visitors to these hotels and motels, just like the issues we're having on Atlantic right now. Property values are also an issue that I'm having with as well. Studies conducted in cities such as Austin and Seattle, cited in the Journal of Real Estate Economics, have consistently shown that the introduction of hotels and motels has led to a decrease in property value for residents. Once again, we already have plenty of areas that these places can exist. We don't need to open more areas. And then lastly, we're looking at hotels and motels now, and particularly on McNabb, very close within a mile of an elementary school. My wife is a teacher there, and not only increasing rates of transient populations within these areas, walking around, these kids walking to school constantly. Let's keep this area a residential area. Once again, we have plenty of opportunities for these people to build in other locations. We don't need to give them more opportunity. And lastly, a report by the EPA highlights that heightened energy consumption and waste generation associated with these hotels and motels. So now we're having an increased environmental impact on our community. We have plenty of spaces for these things to already exist. We don't need to open up more. We should be able to prioritize our small businesses, prioritize the residents of our community and their property values, and try to increase, or decrease, I should say, crime as much as we can. So thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Next speaker, please come forward. Anyone else? Very good. Just name and address for the record.
Yes, name and address.
Yeah.
I would like to thank the gentleman that just spoke.
That's Ms. Font.
I would like to thank the gentleman that just spoke for doing all that research. And I think he probably said much more succinctly than anything I would have to add, but I do want to add that I think it's a bad idea. This is a residential neighborhood. It appears as though one developer is trying to sneak in the back door to get what he wants in a community, in a single-family home community with a school. And I don't think that's right. I think we need to protect our neighborhoods and our nice little places and put these hotels where they belong, out on the big main streets, not in our neighborhoods.
Very good. Thank you. Further input from the public? Please come forward. Anyone further? Seeing none, public input closed. Thank you for that. Commission discussion. Mr. Keister, one moment. Mr. Keister-Mills, can you tell me, if you know, how many vacant parcels of B2 zone property are out there?
I do not have the answer to that at this moment in time.
Okay, because I kind of looked at our zoning map, and the gentleman's right. There's right there on the south side of 6th Street. There's some B2, but that's all occupied by businesses. You've got Shift Construction, you've got Wings and Things, you've got Legends Tavern and Grill. Also, then further up on Cypress Road, you've got the Publix Plaza and the 351 office building, but those aren't vacant.
And those are B2. And I looked out in the northwest section. There's the 15th Street Church of Christ, actually, I believe is zone B2, but here again, that's a church, and they've got a building there. And the folks just to the west of there, that's a convenience store, a gas station, that's zone B2. So, and then of course, you've got down on McNabb Road, you've got that B2, but that actually is a vacant parcel directly adjacent to the FPL substation. And now, directly north of where that B2 is, on the north side of McNabb Road, are those single-family residences there?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I drive along there. I can tell you they're not. They're not single-family homes. But where are hotels allowed as far as in residential areas currently? In other words, if somebody wanted to put a hotel in the middle of a single-family home community, could they do it? And if not there, where? I'm just trying to get the information out there so we all understand exactly what it is we're talking about.
So it's a permitted use by right in no residential district. They're all special exceptions in the residential districts.
Okay. So no, they can't go into residential districts at all, not RM12 or anything else?
Oh, they're just special
exceptions.
Special exception.
Gotcha.
Residential.
Okay. But B2 and B3, they're allowed as permitted use in B3, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, is there any B3 or any familiar on McNabb Road?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I checked the zoning map. There is some on the south side of McNabb Road. It's further to the west there. It's adjacent to the waterway and then going towards the east along there. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we were all clear where we're talking about. Very good. Further commission discussion. Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, I find myself in the unusual position of having to reverse myself from the last vote. I was looking at the backup. I noticed that there was a letter of objection from the CRA, so I had a conversation with Mr. Tran, who convinced me that this is not a good idea, and I'd like to ask him to explain to the commission what he explains to me. But I'd like to also add that, today's reputable Marriott hotel can very easily become tomorrow's nasty no-tell motel. And I point out the two motels at the far northern end of 36th Avenue, who once upon a time, they were reputable motels and no longer are. We won't go into the problems we have with them. So it can be put in a B2 by special exception, but I think special exception is probably the better way to go. But I'd like to ask Mr. Tran to come up to the podium and explain to the commission and to the audience his position and the position on the CRA as to why this is not necessarily a very good idea.
Very good. Mr. Tran?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Commission, New and Trans, CRA Director. So in your backup, there is a letter of non-support that was in there with the first reading as well. Just to set the record straight, this isn't about use and hotel use and whether we need more or not, because I would probably be the first one to tell you we need more hotels. We love hotels, but it's all important on where it's placed, right use at the right place. What's before you really is a text amendment. It's not about the use of the hotel in a B2, because a hotel motel is permitted right now without changing the text amendment as a permitted use through a special exception. For those that don't know what a special exception is it goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals. They're the ones that has to determine through certain findings, did it meet those findings to be approved. So right now, it is allowed in a B2. A hotel, motel are allowed in B2s. I cannot speak on all the B2s in the whole city. I can speak for the B2s in the Northwest CRA, and we do have some concerns. One of the concerns is the definition of hotel, motel. According to a code, it is said that the hotel, motel are used synonymously. We all know that hotels and motels differ. They differ in amenities, they differ in concierge services, they differ in the type of operations. So right away, what you're approving here in the text amendment is that hotels, motels are the same, and you're going to allow it as a permitted use by right. Again, it's already approved, permitted by special exception. It's just that extra layer of, okay, we approved this, is it the right scale, is it the right place? Here are the conditions of why we approved this. So it's not about not having it in a B2. So if I may, I would like to put the zoning map up of the Northwest District and several pockets where I do have a concern where B2 is. So you can see the map here. The Northwest District is in the green dashed line. One section of B2 is on 27th Avenue, south of 6th Street, and also north of Northwest First Court. That is surrounded primarily of yellow, and you know what yellow is single family. We spent a lot of time in Collier City trying to develop the blighted conditions, the vacant lots on 27th. We found a great partner, which was Habitat, who built a lot of single-family homes on 27th. There are some vacant properties still on 27th that we don't own as a CRA that can become motel use or hotel use. The second area of concern is this pocket here along Power Line. That's B2 as well. All those properties on the west side of Power Line are vacant. So those are another area of concern that these could become motel or hotel use. And if you see just to the west of that, that also is yellow. That's single-family residence. The last place of concern is this pocket right over here. That is on south of Northwest 15th Street. That is on 6th Avenue, Northwest 6th Avenue. So this little brown area here, you'll know for location purposes, is our Rick Case Habitat community. So as you notice, again, those three areas of B2 pockets, they're all adjacent to yellow. Those are single family. Now, like I said before, I can't speak to other areas of B2 on a commercial corridor. It may be more appropriate to be B3, but currently they're B2. I don't know how those got there to be B2. I can tell you that the B2 in Collier City was annexed in from county land use. The intent of B2 really is for low scale, low density, commercial serving retail uses. Hotels, you can make that argument that it is neighborhood serving. However, I think the argument can be made that the neighborhood's not going to go and use the hotel, such as, hair salons, laundromats, any of those neighborhood type uses. So with that said, that is the reasons why CRA put in a letter of objection to this text amendment. The process is correct. The process should really go, in my professional opinion, the way it is.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. Yeah, we have spent many, many years and made a tremendous effort in trying to clean up the Collier City neighborhood and make it a more desirable place. And I think I speak for all the residents of Collier City when I say they want it to be a family-friendly neighborhood of single-family homes where kids feel free to ride their bicycles up and down the streets. And of course, I share that opinion. So I've got nothing against this particular motel. I have nothing against where he wants to build it, but I do think it's not a good idea to make it by right so that it doesn't have to go through this extra level of approval and consideration before it's just built. So again, I'm very concerned about building it in places like Collier City or over by the Habitat for Humanity complex. I think it's something we need to give some more serious thought to, and the way things are going, the way things are now, they can build them. There just has to be one more or several more sets of eyes that look on the proposal before it's just done without anyone's approval. So I'm going to reverse my vote on this and vote no this time around.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. At the last hearing, I voted no. I really have a lot of concerns with this type of policy. I have concerns with broad text amendments that result in unintended consequences down the road. We all gotten calls from angry constituents saying, why can they put this in my backyard? Well, the answer to it might be a commission 10 years ago passed some kind of amendment like this. So we have to be really thoughtful today about what this means down the road. I appreciate Mr. Tran's letter. At the last hearing, there was a question about whether the city supports this, and the answer seemed to be yes, but the CRA is part of the city, and they clearly don't support it for all the reasons listed. And I had particular concerns about your district when I looked at that map. I had mentioned 27th and Power Line, because it straddles, B2 straddles Power Line there. And given that a hotel and a motel are the same in our code, we all think hotel and it's luxurious and great, but that might not be what you get. So we have to be really careful with things like this. And I also, Dave, if you want to open a hotel, we can apply for a special exception. There is a process for that. And then if we don't get that, we can get a rezoning. But I don't think we should be undermining our ZBA board, which is made up of a group of hardworking citizens who spend a lot of time thinking about these things and listening to the residents who are impacted. So we have a process in place for putting a hotel in B2. It's called a special exception. It seems to be functioning just fine. So I am not in support of this broad policy change. I think it's a bad way to go about this. It's a backdoor way. I mean, even in our backup, it says they weren't successful, so now they're seeking to change our code to allow for it. And I personally just find that wrong. Thank you.
Very good. Further, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, on this whole hotels and motels, I do agree. I would like to see a specification in the zoning code. Maybe that's where we look at to differentiate hotel from motel. Because I have to agree with the previous speaker, the hotel condo aspect can go bad just as quickly. There's a few that I've seen out there, and they're not kept up as well because they don't have a national flagship that has standards overlooking it. So I think that is something we should definitely look at. And as far as hotels in neighborhood, I grew up down the street from the Three Sisters Inn, that's now a Motel 6 in Harbor Village, and I currently live directly across the street from the Hilton, the Hilton. And it's not a negative effect. We have not seen crime go up on where I've been. The Motel 6, again, motel versus hotel, I would love to see that change hands someday and be upgraded, but they have a very long land lease. I know that from other experience. But, and then I also look at the Hampton Inn that went in on Federal in the Santa Barbara neighborhood, just down the street from St. Coleman's, which hasn't been a problem, again, run by a national flagship. So I think perhaps the discussion we need to be having is to refine our code to encourage business, encourage hotel use, hotels being built where they need to be. Because yes, we have a lacking of, and I do believe it's contributing to the plethora of Airbnbs that are single owner hotels in the middle of neighborhoods, sometimes taking up whole blocks of neighborhoods. So I think this is a way, and as far as a hotel in a neighborhood, we always think of hotels being tourist destinations, but quite often in life, there's a funeral, there's a birth, there's a birthday party where family is coming in, and family wants to stay near their family. They're not here for the beach. They're here for a celebration of one type or another, or just a visit. And if someone doesn't have space in their house or their condo, then that's where they stay. So I think perhaps there's more innuendo we need to look at into here, but I don't think we need to totally throw the baby out with the bathwater. And as far as the location that went by ZBA, I don't know. I actually don't know this. Is there a function where we could have it brought to us?
I'm sorry, a function of rezoning or special exception, or?
Yeah, the special exception.
If I may, there is an appeal process through ZBA. I believe it's a rehearing or reconsideration if there's new evidence or.
Mr. Berman?
No, it doesn't. It goes
We
back
better
to
defer to Mr. Berman. I appreciate it, Mr. Tran. What is the appeal process for a special exception denial?
Circuit Court appeal.
Circuit Court.
And they can also file a motion for rehearing if certain circumstances exist, but the direct appeal is to Circuit Court.
Very good.
Because, I do think that it makes sense. Yeah, its neighbors are a substation, a CVS, Marshalls, Office Depot, Publix. Like, it's an area there. And as far as traffic usage, hotels work on such a different schedule that with the 11 o'clock checkouts and usually 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock check-ins, people aren't all going or coming at the same time. It's actually, compared to a lot of other usages, kind of ideal for a street with such a crazy traffic pattern as McNabb. So yeah, no, I'd like to, again, try to explore how to do this and definitely look into our language of hotel versus motel, because I think that is a differential that we want to set. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Eaton, Seeger Eaton.
That's okay,
Apologize.
thank you. So I do, I think that's kind of what I was leaning towards, is why do we not have a distinction between motel and hotel? They are distinctly different things. And going back to the code and amending the code, for that, perhaps maybe table this item and then go back, amend the code, and see how that might work as a special exception. However, I also, it's not lost, the fact is not lost that a condo hotel and a hotel is a distinction without a difference. A condo hotel is a finance mechanism. You have many investors, but it still looks like a hotel and acts like a hotel. You don't need to get the permission. You have a management that goes in. So it's a distinction without a difference. But it is a hotel, not a motel. So, yeah, you're right. And we don't know how this stuff got generated. And I can see that it affects all of the B2 zoning district. And you pointed out that one on 31st Avenue, there was an existing hotel there, I think. And I think that's where the county just purchased that land and is going to do residential development there. Right on 31st and MLK.
I don't think that's Zone B2, though.
No.
Well, the county, I've heard the county, well, whatever. And then one asks themselves, well, I see the strip within the residential neighborhood, but then I see a B2 right next to a B3. And I wonder, well, what was the distinction there? And then I see on a McNabb Road, and you had mentioned this, Mayor, down the road where it used to be Anglo-C a restaurant, that whole strip is B3. And it has the exact same surrounding conditions as the B2 does. And then in the corner of McNabb and 18th or Cypress Road, that's multifamily. It's all B3 in red, and then you have multifamily, and then you have residential. So, I don't think this would be a bad site, but if it's a matter of determining, getting a definition and changing those codes, because why are they not afforded the same zoning as down the road? What is the difference? There is no difference. And, I mean, that's not my fault. I know that's not your fault. But there's very little rhyme or reason for it, and we have very few of these B2s left. We just did one not too long ago in District 5. I don't remember if you were on the board, Commissioner Moss, or not at that time, but it was a dry cleaner service, and it was right next to a B3 property. So we allowed it, or changed the code so you could have it. Again, a lot of distinctions without a difference. That's just, that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm very confused about it. So, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Tran, just why hasn't anybody in the city proposed that we do have a definition of motel versus hotel? I mean, it sounds like well, yeah, we all grapple with that, but why haven't we done that? I know you were the CRA, but I'm looking at you because you're standing there right now.
So that came up because of this text amendment, and like I said before, the text amendment affects all B2 zoning. Maybe that's not the right process, is through a text amendment to get this approved. Maybe it's a rezoning where it doesn't affect all the B2 districts. To Commissioner Seegers and Eaton's point, I agree. Some of those B2s next to B3s on commercial corridors act like B3s. Maybe those should be rezoned to B3 and hotels, motels would be permitted in a B3. I'm just opposing the text amendment, which affects more than just this location. It affects every.
I understand that. My question is about the definition, motel versus hotel. Why haven't we started down that path? Can you answer that?
I can't answer that.
Okay, perhaps Mr. Keystro Mills, can you stand up? Can I ask you this question? Why haven't we done something about a definition?
We've never had a problem with it.
Okay.
We've never seen a distinction between the two, and so it never was something that we needed to investigate.
Okay. Well, I think
Direction today, we can.
yes. I think this episode has brought forth the fact that we do need to look at a definition, and you've heard at least I'm not sure who all has mentioned it on the dais so far. At least the three over here. I'm not sure if anybody else mentioned the definition, but I think they're probably going to be in agreement that we should have a definition. So yes, if we could get started on a definition of hotel versus motel with some parameters, so we can look at that to bring that forward, and also. I don't know who wants to answer this. Perhaps Mr. Harrison should. I'm not sure, but it's a good question. How is it that our CRA is in opposition to an issue and our city staff is in support of an issue? Who wants to tackle that one?
So, if you read the staff report, department staff report, it was not a recommendation to go either way. It was alternatives that were presented.
Oh, I thought I asked at the first hearing if this was being recommended by staff. Mr. Keystro Mills?
I can't answer. I mean, Newen is looking at his specific geographic areas and how it's going to relate and impact to the work that they're doing and their objectives. Our position was that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and not significantly different from the other zoning districts. So when you posed a black and white question to me, I provided a yes question as it was consistent with a comprehensive plan, and the distinction between B2 and B3 is veil thin.
Very good. And I'm not trying to beat up on staff. I hate it when people beat up on staff. I'm not trying to do that. It's just interesting there's a disconnect, because I thought that you said that staff supports this during the first hearing, but the CRA is in opposition to it, and that does present an interesting conundrum for us as a commission when we look at this kind of stuff, and it's just something to think about going forward. Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, I think we're making this text amendment about this hotel in this place, and to me, it isn't. Mm-hmm. It's not about this hotel on McNabb Road. It is about the bigger picture. Now, I'm not sure what the definition between a hotel and a motel is, but I've walked the plane of this earth for 4 years, and I know that there are magnificently beautiful motels and Fleabag hotels. So whatever the definition between them is, really is somewhat irrelevant. It's, do we just want to allow this to happen in any B2 neighborhood? And I think it's not giving adequate thought to it. If the commission is concerned about what the difference between a hotel and a motel is, then maybe we should say no to this and then revisit that issue. But to pass this now is is opening Pandora's box as far as I'm concerned. Again, we have to give this a lot more thought than just deciding about this now. And it's not about McNabb Road, it's not about this hotel, it's about the wider city and opening Pandora's box to potential magnificent hotels and potential no-tell motels. And we all know what happened to those very nice, once upon a time, motels on 31st Avenue that are now being torn down and have been a constant problem. So I'm going to encourage everybody to take into consideration the fact that this is not about McNabb Road. It's not about this hotel. It's about the bigger picture in the wider city. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Got Vice
Can I make a statement? I'm sorry.
Just wait. Vice Mayor?
I'm wondering if the commission would want to see about tabling this item to let staff and the attorney and city attorney try and identify language to define the difference between the types of hotels we would be hoping for versus the types of motels we do not want, and then come back to us. I guess, okay, motion, I guess.
So you're moving to table it? Or
I would move to table it, I don't know how much time staff, maybe a month? How much time staff would need to be able to go out, come back to us with some definitions, with some different wording, because again, I do believe we could use more hotels in the city, but again, we want to make sure we're setting standards. So at least this way, we can try to address this kind of, while it's here on the table, and go ahead and change the, look into what we can do about the wording to, again, especially with the fact that I'm kind of concerned because we do allow condo hotel. And making sure that the standards are set. Because, between a condo hotel and a hotel, it's just an ownership situation, it's financials. And yes, either one of them can be run amazing and either one of them can be run poorly. So, just have staff come back to us with wordage that would make our whole zoning code better.
So your motion is to table until 10/24 meeting?
Sure.
Is that your, okay, so the
Is that enough
motion?
time for staff?
Motion to table until 10/24?
To be clear, it was a public initiated text amendment, so it would be working with the applicant to find language that both the
That's fine.
staff and, okay,
Is a month enough, or is 2 months better?
we'll start with a month and see what happens.
Commissioner?
Okay, wait, we've got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded by Commissioner Seegerson Eaton. Okay, discussion on the motion. Commissioner Seegerson Eaton?
Thank you. So anything that we're going to do going forward is going to have to be codified by, it's an ordinance, it's going to have to go through 2 readings. So if you're saying that we're going to bring this item back, are you saying we're going to bring this particular item back in a month? Or are we getting the findings of staff back in a month? Because if the staff first has to do their findings, it's going to be 2 readings for anything we approve or disapprove. And where does this gentleman, fit in? That's my concern.
So
Does he want to proceed? Does he want a zoning change as a possibility?
no, you've got a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
So you need to figure, you're sticking with your motion till 10/24?
No, I mean, sorry.
It's not your motion. It's not your motion, Commissioner Seegerson.
I still had the floor.
Yes, you do, but we've got a lot of talking going on. So
I think we're trying to figure this one out.
okay, so
Loud.
You still have the floor,
Yes, thank
Commissioner
you.
Seegerson.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, I think we should your motion to give staff direction to come back and look at the ordinance for definitions of hotels, motels, is one part of it. I definitely agree with that. But we're just dealing with this issue right now, and this issue that's in front of us, I would like to see tabled until the applicant and/or staff can see how it works, whenever he wants to come back, he reaches out to staff. Whenever he wants to come back, when he feels
Okay.
but.
So not a
2
timeline.
issues here. First, we have what we're dealing with here, and then we have the other issue, which I agree.
Okay, it's okay. All right, so you still have the floor.
Okay, well, that's my feeling right now, just to be a little more clear on actually what we're doing.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
So my thought process on bringing back this motion would be, sorry. My thought process on bringing back this motion, I think what I'm thinking, and definitely I'm trying to figure out the best way to attack this one, has to do with the idea that multiple locations are probably good candidates for future hotel use in B2 zoning. And so, yeah, I don't want to, I know we're not talking about one specific thing in this mix, but I guess when staff, if we do it where we don't table, vote on this, and then come back, I would like, so I guess I'm going to modify my motion to have staff come back with both a wording change and possible locations in B2 where we think this could be good use changes suggested by staff.
Okay, I second that. For discussion.
Okay, so
First
it's,
motion withdrawn.
Yeah, first motion withdrawn, or change to what I just, to the,
okay, so you want to table it?
no,
No.
not table. Just, I don't know if to make a motion or just direction to staff to come back with that to us in a timely manner regarding changing a wordage between hotel versus motel,
Okay.
and also possibly identifying B2 locations that would be beneficial to have this applied to, possibly change them to B3, I guess.
Okay, so you're asking to give staff direction to
Yes.
do something outside of what we're dealing with here?
Yes, I've
So we're-
modified it.
We're
So
still dealing
dropping the
with,
motion, but
okay.
trying to also fix the problem.
So you're making a motion to direct staff to come back with some ideas for B2 zoning where hotels might be advantageous, and also some possible language to allow hotels versus motels or not in B2 districts and things of that nature at a future time, once they've gotten some stuff put together. That's the motion.
Yes, but not too far in the future time.
Okay, sure. Now, do you understand, you got that, Mr. Harrison? It's kind of asking for some information in the future. It is, are you clear?
It is not on the.
Good? Okay, so there's a motion and a second. It's just so we all understand what the motion is. It's just directing staff for information in the future. Commissioner Fournier?
So to clarify, we are not tabling this item then?
That's not the motion.
Okay, understood. I think that's a better path forward. I think that these are different issues. I think this is an issue about hotels or motels in B2, and as Commissioner Moss said, it doesn't necessarily matter what they're called. It's about this broad text amendment that allows it in all of B2, that it opens Pandora's box, as he put it. And then if staff is going to work on definitions, I'd like them to do that independently, not through some public initiated process. I'd like them to be independent and think through what those definitions are. Because did you just say that this was, if we tabled this, it would be through?
This is on the motion.
I understand, but.
The item before the commission right now is a public initiated text amendment,
Right.
so.
But that's not what this
So
motion is.
right, so this motion now creates an independent look from staff
Correct.
at this, which I think is the way to approach that.
Commissioner Moss?
I think we're making this unnecessarily complicated. I mean, I've got a headache. I don't understand what any of this is about
I'm trying to keep us on-
at this point. I mean, I don't care what the definition of a hotel and a motel is. It doesn't matter. You can have a nice hotel or a nasty one, a nice motel or a nasty one. We're getting off track here. This is about, and it's got nothing to do with this gentleman and his proposed hotel. This is about a text amendment that's going to have very significant impact on the city. And trying to identify where in B2 a hotel would be good, what are you going to call it, B2 and a half? So it's getting nutsy here. I mean, we need to make it a little bit more simple. And I think if we want to look into the ramifications of all of this, then let's just either postpone this or vote no, and then have staff look into some of the other considerations and issues that commissioners have. But, I mean.
Well, Commissioner Moss just.
And that's why I'm saying I can't support the vice mayor's motion.
Because just to clarify, basically this, I mean, we're taking this at this particular point in time because it's germane to the topic that we are addressing.
Yes.
But this is a motion to direct staff to get information for us in the future. It has nothing to do with what item we're actually on, okay? So this motion to direct staff, further discussion, or on the motion. Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and take public input on the motion to direct staff to come back with ideas on definitions and where in B2 things could be done and all that kind of stuff. Any public input on this motion to direct staff? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Mike Skaversky, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. I can have a great solution to this. Why don't you look up the word hotel in the dictionary and motel in the dictionary, and it will explain it to you. It's very simple. We don't need this. We're going around it. I agree with Barry for once. We are going around in circles for just something that is completely pointless. Pointless.
Thank you, Mr. Skaversky. Thank you.
Listen to Barry for once.
Further input on this motion. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Enikia McLeod, 2874 Northwest 4th Street. I actually agree with Barry Moss for the first time in forever, because I live in Collier City, and along 27th Avenue, I do not want a hotel. I do not want the hotels that are on 31st Avenue, as well as I don't want the hotels on Power Line between Hammondville and Atlantic, because we already have things going on over there, and I'm so happy that they're knocking down the hotels that's back there. So the B2 and the B3, I think they need to stay the way that they are, because if you do that, if I want to come and put in a hotel, I'm going to re-reference tonight's meeting. So then that gives an open door for other companies to come in and say, well, hey, you did it for this person, why not do it for me? So,
On the motion to direct staff, that's really what we're talking about
Correct.
right now.
but I just want to make that known as well.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further input from the public on the motion to direct staff to bring us back information. That's all we're doing, right, Ed?
Brian Escavage, 61 Southeast 11th Street, Pompano Beach. I do agree that, yes, you should allow them to look up the definition hotel versus motel, and hopefully that will stop the back door.
Very good, thank you. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Further commission discussion on the motion. Vice Mayor.
Yes, because I think language and innuendo, language is extraordinarily important and never a waste of time. And I think part of the problem is when you're looking at a consolidated use table, is that hotel and motel are lumped. When we get the definitions in, when we get clarity on what that means as far as building parameters, number of units, et cetera, to narrow down what the definitions are, then anyone applying for anything has a clear understanding of what is expected to them in what district, and can apply for a zoning change to be a hotel versus a motel, and it just needs clarity. So I think in law and governance, wording is extraordinarily important, so yes, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Moss.
In the interest of realizing that more information is always better than less information, I will vote to support the Vice Mayor's recommendation that we ask staff to provide us with more information. That's just on this motion.
That's what we're dealing with right now.
More information is better than less information.
Further commission discussion on the motion. Seeing none, let's call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Now, we're back on the actual item before us, which is item 16. Is there further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins, did you? I'm sorry.
Just said let's vote.
Okay. Soon. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that we table this.
Until?
No, until the applicant wants to come back. I mean, he's been standing here, we haven't let him have a chance to speak yet.
Well, public input on this item is technically closed. So when would you like to table it till?
Let me look at my calendar.
The 24th is our second meeting in October. That would be a month.
Commissioner Eaton, I'd suggest you give it more time than less so that they can really look into it well.
Would staff, Mr. Mills, would you have any recommendations on a a time frame, 3 months?
And this is a publicly initiated text amendment, so if we're just talking about what the applicant has proposed, allowing it in B2, I think it would be up to him, or if he's looking to reconsider his request. I don't.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I don't know what.
No, okay. That's on the matter of tabling. Do you have a request for when you would like this table till? I mean, if it's not, I understand you're not asking for a table, but Commissioner Segerson-Eden has made a motion to table this to some point in time, and she's just wondering what might be an accommodative time frame for you if it were to pass.
Sure. I mean, October 24th sounds good, and I mean, I think Mr. O'Mills-Keiser said that if we need more time, I think they can ask for more time at that point, right? So
Okay.
if October 24th, and if the findings are not in, then maybe request an extension at that time for whatever date may be.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Then that would be my motion. October
Table until October 24th, okay?
Second?
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to table until October 24th. Discussion on the motion. Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, well, of course, this gentleman wants it taken care of sooner than later. I understand that, but I'm not sure that that's enough time. That's all. I think maybe we could make it a little bit longer. Staff, do you have any sense as to, do you have the manpower to take care of this?
I guess I have a question. Is the need for tabling for staff to come up with the definitions of hotels and motels to make his application clearer, or?
I guess.
The previous motion was for staff to investigate hotels and motels and come up and provide you with information, so you need that information in order to make a decision on this application. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. We can, I don't know how long that's going to take for me to do that, so I'm sorry.
You could look at it in a month.
Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Tran?
I don't think that tabling this and going longer is going to do anything, because the application says to make this a permitted use in a B2. So if the motion is to table it for more time, we're just going to delay it for more time. But we are still, as the CRA staff, opposed to the text amendment to make this a permitted use in a B2.
Okay.
Can I come back to your letter, though?
Sir, not, no, not. I've got Commissioner Fournier, then I'll come back to Commissioner Segerson-Eden.
Thank you. The way this is worded, it says permit a hotel or motel. So it doesn't really matter if we define hotel and motel in the next month. Both of them are permitted in B2 here, how this is worded. So we can put both of them in B2 if we table this and even get definitions. So I would think this would have to be reworded also. So I don't think tabling this makes sense. I think we should have an answer to this and then go back and do the work on hotel versus motel. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eden.
Well, okay, so the gentleman said October 24th would work for him, and that's the motion that's on the table. And whether he comes back with a different, again, with another way to approach the city for approval, whether it be a zoning change or whatever, but still, we don't have clarification. I'm glad we did the last motion, and, you know, it's not, all staff has to do is research definitions that other cities have, but they probably have definitions, not a terribly hard thing to do. I just want to be able to, if we go forward, to create language so that in only certain situations where perhaps a hardship could be shown by the definition, excuse me, I'm, Mayor,
Commissioner Segerson-Eden, let's stay focused on the motion to table.
Okay, and that's what I'm focusing on, and the motion was October 24th, whether you think that's long enough or you think that doesn't really matter, because that's the motion. Thank you.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
I think I get what Commissioner Segerson-Eden's going with, is that, you know, with the prior motion that passed too, I don't think we wanted this to, you know, take 4 or 5 years to come back to us. It's an issue that we're dealing with now, and to encourage business growth in certain areas is part of what we're trying to do anyways. And we've all heard so much about with the Airbnb situation that hotels are needed, maybe not in every location of B2, but that's where I think if staff can come back, when they come back with the data on hotel versus motel and possibly the text amendment to separate these line items. That might be a big way to handle it, where you have.
Vice Mayor, on the motion to table, let's try and.
Right, but I'm saying they are connected. The
Okay.
reason.
That's already done. We've
Right,
already
I'm saying,
made-
but the reason Commissioner Segerson-Eaton wants to have a timeline on it is to have that information when it comes back on the table. So yeah, no, I get it, and I think having a timeline, if we think the 24th is too short, then I would say maybe November 14th, that's a 6-week.
We'll deal with it, I think, as it comes.
But yeah, I think this is definitely an issue that's better defined and rectified sooner than later. So I still support.
Very good. Further commission on the motion to table. Seeing none, this is a procedural motion. There's no need for public input on this. Thank you, Mr. Berman. Okay, no further discussion on the motion to table. Very good. Let's call the roll on the motion to table to October 24th.
Commissioner Fournier?
No.
Commissioner Moss?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
No. So we're back on the original item. Very good. So what staff has been given their direction to come back with information to us. Thank you for that. So on this item, we were on commission discussion. Is there further commission discussion? I believe at this time, I believe the gentleman who proposed this might like to say a few words, but I'm going to make a motion that we reopen public input since he is technically a member of the public.
Second?
Moved and second to reopen public input. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for that. We're back on public input. Sir, would you like to chime in on this?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, thank you so much. Either if this goes my way or not, but thank you for hearing me out. And I want to just start with, there is an inconsistency with the code, with the hotel and a condo hotel. Essentially, Vice Mayor said, Commissioner Segerson-Eaton said, there is no difference between the two. Commissioner Moss, someone could build a condo hotel in the B2 in your district, and it's permitted by right. So there's nothing, and it could be an amazing condo hotel, or it could be a very crappy hotel. Pardon my words. So the hotel versus the motel, even in the code in the first reading, I made the distinction. There isn't one. It's just worded differently, essentially accompanying the same thing. The condo hotel, even the definition says visitor use. So, which is more of a hotel type of definition than a hotel itself. So that is a permitted right. So that is the inconsistency between a B2, the hotel and a condo hotel. My next thing is the CRA letter. I read it. It's on the, I get it, Mr. Tran, you opposed to it. You said right here, the word motels. I think the gentleman before me spoke, out of practicality, no one builds those anymore. The land just costs too much. And people want to go higher. They don't want to go longer. So the drive-in motels or whatever of the 1960s, no one builds those anymore. It's just not practical. Secondly, in the B2 that you highlighted in the map, you could build a 105 feet building that is abutting the single family use, and no one can do anything about it. So when you say the mid to low density, that 105 feet does not sound to me as mid to low density, because that by right is a B2. Someone can have an office building abutting the single family residence at 105 feet and can't do anything about it. So that is one inconsistency I did see in yours, because when you say low to mid density, 105 feet, I think to any common person seems like it's pretty high density, in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure you guys would agree to that. Condo hotel by right. This is going back to your hotel motel, but a condo hotel in the CRA district would be completely permitted, but it's just the inconsistency with how the condo hotels are viewed versus regular hotels. So I do want to highlight, it's just inconsistent with your letter when you say low to mid density. 105 feet by code is not mid density by any means. Yeah, so thank you all for your time. That's all I have to say.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there any further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Thank you. Further commission discussion on the item? Seeing none, Commissioner Moss.
Just one last thought. There's always the zoning board of appeals that someone can go to in order to get what they want. And that is our last set of eyes on any of this. So it's not as though the gentleman can't build this hotel, it's just that he has to, or anyone, he has to have another set of eyes on it before it's passed.
Yeah, it's just for clarification. He went to the ZBA. He was turned down for the special exception. So his only option would be to go to circuit court to appeal the ZBA.
Well, that is an option.
Absolutely, yeah. Further, Commissioner Segerson Eden.
Just one comment, and again, remember, you have, you can build a 105-foot condo hotel by right in a B2 as the code stands. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
No.
Commissioner Moss,
No.
Commissioner Perkins,
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
No. Very good. All right, let's take a 10-minute recess. Meeting back to order. Item number 17 is a second reading of an ordinance.
This is the second reading of a well-written ordinance, which adds an at-large member per request to the Board of...
It hasn't been, Mr. Berman, it hasn't been read yet.
Pardon me?
It hasn't been read yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm just all excited about reading my ordinance.
That's it.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, amending Chapter 33, Boards and Commissions of the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Section 33.076, members, to modify membership of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board by providing for the appointment of a member to serve at large and providing for the appointment of alternate members by providing for appointments of irregular voting members to the board by the mayor and each city commissioner, beginning with the next municipal election in November of 2024, providing for modification of terms of current board members, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Mr. Berman.
As I said before, this is the second reading of a well-written ordinance which adds an at-large member and modifies the board appointment process to ensure each commissioner has a selection on the committee. No changes since first reading. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier.
No.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Sickerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 18 is a second reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 34, City Policy, the Pompano Beach Code of Ordinances relating to the General Employees Retirement System by amending Section 34.025, Contributions, to extend the period to pay member contributions for past services, and by amending Section 34.0263, Deferred Retirement Option Plan, DROP, by modifying terms of participation in DROP, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Bush.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney, Bobby Bush, the Acting Human Resource Director. This is a second reading of an ordinance and has been no changes since that last reading.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Sickerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 19 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 34, City Policy of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach relating to the police and firefighters' retirement system by amending Section 34.050, Conditions of Eligibility, to correct language regarding purchase of prior continuous service, by amending Section 34.0571, Internal Revenue Code Compliance, to achieve compliance with IRS requirements and the Secure 2.0 Act, by amending Section 34.059 accrued benefits to provide additional language to clarify requirements for vesting of accrued benefits, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Donovan.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners. The ordinance before you this evening is to just make several changes to our Code of Ordinances to make it congruent with the new IRS code based on laws signed on December 29th, 2022. It also allows it to be congruent with the collective bargaining agreement that was approved by the Commission with the fire union, and that makes it clarifies language for the repurchase of service for hirees, and also makes the change to the vesting period from 10 to 7, which again is in the collective bargaining agreement. And so more or less this is housekeeping items. And that concludes my comments.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns, ideas. Seeing none, let's call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Fournier.
Quick question. You just said something, Mr. Donovan, that gave me a question here. You said that this is changing from 10 to 7 years vesting period? Did I hear that right?
That's correct, yes.
And there's no fiscal impact, no financial impact for this?
No, when we did the original study for the collective bargaining agreement, I think it actually ended up giving us some money back, because they're not, the longer you stay, the more money you have to pay. So by changing it to 7 years, I actually think it came out a little positive for us.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes?
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 20 is the first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the proper city officials to execute a license, service, and product usage terms and conditions agreement between the City of Pompano Beach and ITSA Solutions LLC, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Good evening, Mr. Lance.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Jeff Lance, Parking Manager. Item before you this evening is a request for a new agreement with ITSA Solutions to continue the use of the Barnacle enforcement device. Staff believes the Barnacle parking system is an effective solution to encourage compliance with paid parking regulations, as well as to ensure that violators pay unpaid parking citations. The Barnacle has played an integral role in reducing outstanding unpaid parking citations. The parking enforcement officer can easily and quickly apply the device to the front windshield of any vehicle, and after which the owner simply calls the 1-800 number and will receive a code to have the device removed. The enforcement tool is reserved for violators with 3 or more unpaid citations or 1 unpaid ADA citation. The Barnacle software system is completely compatible with our current enforcement software, allowing a seamless reporting and auditing capabilities. It should also be noted that when the city first launched this program, we issued a press release offering a 60-day amnesty to allow an opportunity for those with outstanding parking fines to settle those fees without late fees. That concludes my presentation.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
4354 Northwest 9th Avenue, Sarah Peterson. This device, what exactly does the device do?
Mr. Lance?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Apologies.
Go ahead.
Looks like a briefcase. It's yellow. It weighs about 20 pounds. It can be easily deployed when opened up. It attaches to the windshield with about 750 pounds of pressure.
So it's like a boot.
It's much safer than a boot. A boot, you'd have to get on the ground. You'd have to apply it usually with your back to traffic. This is looks like a briefcase. You simply walk up and place it on a windshield.
Okay, so this is for unpaid parking. So it's a way to monitor and collect unpaid parking. And how much are we paying for this service?
How much do we pay the Barnacle people?
Mm-hmm.
Pay them about $350 a month for the use of their devices.
A month, 350.
Per month for the use of their devices.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions? Commissioner Moss.
A quick question. I've never seen one of these before. So it looks like a briefcase, but when you open it up, it's larger, and it adheres to the windshield, and it prevents them from seeing where they're going.
Yes, exactly. We put it across the front of the driver's side of the windshield.
Good idea. And obviously, we expect to make more money with this device than it costs us to get the device, correct?
Yeah, to date, we've generated about $8,000 in collected unpaid parking citations, and at $350 a month, that's about $4,200 a year.
Very good. Okay. Well, sounds like a good idea. Thanks.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, excuse me. About how many unpaid citations do we pretty much receive a year?
We're about 40% unpaid right now.
40%?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. And this is the only solution you can come up with to get those fines paid or the citations paid?
It's the safest solution and the quickest solution. Eventually, scofflaw will kick in, and that's somebody with 3 unpaid citations would not be able to renew their license plate. But that could be up to 2 years.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. But this is only for folks who have how many unpaid?
3 unpaid or 1 unpaid handicap.
Right, so it's, in other words, if you just miss paying your parking ticket, your parking fees the first time, you don't get the barnacle. It's for those who have more of a ongoing problem paying their parking fees. Yes, Commissioner Fournier.
Do you know what that 40% unpaid equals? What is that outstanding amount that we
Off
are
the top of
owed?
my head, I do not know. It's substantial.
It sounds like it. Thank you.
Further commission discussion? Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
Yes. Item 21 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee of the City of Pompano Beach for a term of 2 years. Said term to expire on September 27, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second. Are there any nominations for this item?
Mayor,
Mr. Commissioner Moss.
I would nominate Joan Kovac, the incumbent.
Joan Kovac, the incumbent. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 22 is a resolution.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, appointing blank to the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee of the City of Pompano Beach for a term of 2 years, said term to expire September 27, 2025, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item?
Mayor,
Commissioner Moss.
I would nominate Claudia McMahon, the incumbent.
Very good. Claudia McMahon, the incumbent. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Do we have any additional audience to be heard?
No, Mayor.
Very good. Takes care of that. Next scheduled meetings, we have October 10th, 2023 at 1 p.m., regular City Commission meeting, and followed by October 24th, 2023 at 6 p.m., regular City Commission meeting. Takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bosworth, would you stand up, please? You're on the hot seat. So after serving as a board member and vice chair for the last 10 years, we have in our midst the new chair of the Florida, this is the State of Florida Cultural Affairs Commission. So Earl.
All right.
So that concludes my report, Mayor.
Very good. Congratulations, Mr. Bosworth. Great news. That takes us up to Mr. Berman, City Attorney.
Thank you. That's going on your resume, Earl. The only report, unfortunately, sad news that Deputy City Attorney Tracy Lyons' husband did pass last week, and if you have the opportunity, drop her a card or whatever you feel appropriate would be appreciated. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Very good. Thank you for that, and sorry about that news. Thank you for that. Mr. Kervin, Mr. City Clerk.
Well, I wanted to report that on August 24th, with the assistance of the city manager's office and the city attorney's office, we coordinated a training session for the advisory boards members. We trained approximately 77 advisory board members.
Great.
So it was a success, and we're looking to get the remaining folks that weren't able to attend to participate in a webinar that would help for those who were unable to attend. So just wanted to report on that.
Very good.
Concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that work. And I'm sure that keeps our advisory board members up to date. All right, City Commission, Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items. I'm very happy to announce that some of the streets in Lions Park are getting the final coat of asphalt. This has been a long time coming, and that means that parts of the project are starting to wrap up. So that is great news. The Lions Park Monument, if anyone's driven by on Cypress Road, we're doing, some residents are doing a bit of a refresh there. So I just want to thank the residents for all of their hard work and all the sweat equity that they're putting into that. We have a District 3 community meeting tomorrow at the American Legion at 7 p.m. Ty Tabing, our cultural art director, will be there, and we will also talk about taxes and the budget. So come out to the American Legion tomorrow night, 7 p.m., to meet your neighbors and talk about what's going on with cultural arts in the city. And then lastly, I had made a motion several meetings ago, I think now, about Sand and Spurs, and I was told not to do it at that meeting, but to do it at one of these meetings. So I would like to make the motion to ask the city to move Sand and Spurs from under Public Works into Parks and Recreation.
Okay, it's been, you've moved to moving from Public Works to under Parks and Rec. It's a motion. Is there a second?
As a second.
Moved and seconded. All right. Discussion on the motion. Well, before we do that, should we get Mr. Harrison, you want to chime in a little bit? So it is.
Yes, sir. Again, the reason that the organization chart and the budget with regard to the personnel and the expenses at Sand and Spurs, it goes through grounds maintenance and public works. And the ground that Sand and Spurs sits on is not a park. It is part of the airport property that's been used for this purpose since before probably I was born.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a long time.
Okay. Very, very good. Okay. Thank you for that input. I've got Commissioner Sigerson.
Okay, it does say on its sign, Pompano Beach Equestrian Park. Is there any way we can get programming where we can perhaps initiate events, food truck events, or maybe the fall festival, or some other ways to get it as a asset, a bigger asset, part of the I don't know if it's a charter or with the construction of Sand and Spurs in our ordinances, or in the advisory board, rather, that's what it was. It's said to make the public know, aware that it exists and that it's open to the public. It's not a private event.
Sure. The Parks and Rec staff would be open to any type of programming recommendations or requests that they have from that board, if that's the vehicle of communication that you would like. It's nothing to say that we can't program through Parks and Rec, but the organization of the grounds maintenance personnel, et cetera, expenses still needs to stay under Public Works.
Okay. Commissioner Sigerson Eden, you still have the floor?
For right now.
Okay, good. Vice Mayor.
I just want to chime in because I attended the Sand and Spurs advisory meeting last week, and both Public Works and Parks and Rec were also in attendance and are already working on figuring out who's doing what. And I know that Sand and Spurs members heard a lot of our concerns and are actually currently working on some future event ideas to be put into place. I don't want to put the cart before the horse on it because I know they haven't been fully finalized yet. But I do believe this is it's all in the process of happening. And I know Parks and Rec and Public Works are discussing, there's a lot of maintenance issues that Public Works is taking care of, and then Parks and Rec wants to work with the board there, the advisory board and the horse owners to try and figure out what they want to do. I know a few of them are talking about, according to a 501c3, you have people getting certified to be instructors in horseback riding, which is apparently a very difficult process I was not aware of. But so yeah, there's a lot of action, and I was very impressed with the enthusiasm the board was having for moving things. So I think it's already being worked out from what I saw.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Moss.
What would the proposed change do? What would be the benefit, A? And B, is it legal to have a city park on land that the city doesn't own?
Well, the benefit, let's address the benefit first. Mr. Fournier, you made the motion?
I think the benefit is that Parks and Rec is better at proactively programming these facilities, whereas Public Works just kind of maintains them and takes care of them. I assume Public Works and Facilities maintain and take care of all of our other parks also, not Parks and Rec. So it would seem if we want this to be more activated and more accessible to all residents, that Parks and Rec is that public-facing vehicle. So that, I think that was some of the input that we heard from the many conversations we've had about Sand and Spurs. I do know that there are events being planned, and I think that's great, but I'm just worried that, like most things, where there's attention on it now, but this can dwindle in a couple of years and we end up back where we were. So I'd like to make sure, unless Mr. Harrison is saying, are you saying this is not possible? Okay.
Commissioner Moss still has the floor. I just.
Oh, no, I'm finished.
Well, you wanted to know the legality question.
The
also.
legality.
Me too, I guess I do also.
Mr. Berman?
Is it legal to have a?
Mr. Berman, into the microphone, please.
I'm sorry. Yes, the question is it legal to have a city park on property the city doesn't own? The city owns this property. It's deed restricted, but it's, city owns it. City owns it.
Or it leases it?
No, the city owns it. It doesn't lease it. It pays money every year into the Air Park Fund. And that is similar to a lease, but it's not. It's not paid to anybody other than the Air Park Fund. The deed restriction is that if it's used for aviation use, there's no cost to the city. If it's used by the city for anything other than aviation use, the fair market value, which was determined back when this was done and increased gradually every year, is paid into the Air Park Advisory Fund to be used for operation of the airport. That's how the FAA set it up, and that's under those terms and circumstances how they release the property to the city. That's where it is. So, and everything's legal.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier, no, I've got Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, I just need you, Commissioner, to restate the motion.
The motion was to move Sand and Spurs Park from under Public Works into Parks and Recreation.
And you're stating that because of programming?
Yes. And some of the public, what we heard from the public about it not being activated enough. I mean, Public Works, I don't know, the cemetery's under them and horse and this park.
But isn't that already in place? Because ground maintenance is already there doing the work already. And Parks and Recreation, you're saying they're not programming it at this point?
I don't think they were up until the recent meetings we've had, and Parks and Rec has been looped in, and they are, I think, starting, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think they're starting to think about programming it, but I want to make sure we continue going that direction instead of fall back to this is just a facility under Public Works.
All right, I understand.
But if Mr. Harrison says this is not possible, then.
Well, I didn't say it wasn't
Okay.
possible. I'm sorry, I didn't say it was not possible.
I was
I'm just saying it's better from an organizational standpoint to leave it the way that it is, and if there are programming needs, I'm assuming you all want us to go through this board to get those ideas? Is that?
Which board?
The Sand and Spurs Advisory Board. I'm hearing from Commissioner McGee and Commissioner Sigerson Eaton about the board and input to the Parks and Rec staff.
Okay, because, so anything's possible, yes, in answer to that question. But just real quick, I just wanted to get a question answered by Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, as far as the organizational structure goes, I mean, there's Public Works takes care of everything. They take care of all the ball fields we play on, don't they?
Yes.
Yes, they take care of all the soccer fields. They take care of Public Works takes care of everything. But Parks and Rec programs.
Right.
But historically, it sounds like Parks and Rec just hasn't been programming the Sand and Spurs stable area. That's what it sounds like. Would that be accurate? Parks and Rec wasn't really involved previously?
Correct.
Okay. Because we do, I mean, most of these places, whether it's the baseball fields or soccer fields or anything like that, we don't have an advisory board per se, outside of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, but we don't have an advisory board over the football program. So Parks and Rec kind of shepherds that, but we do have an advisory board over Sand and Spurs Stables, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which has always been kind of like, well, that's the folks in charge. Okay, I was just one of those questions answered. But I've still got, Commissioner Fournier still got the floor. Yeah, we're past it.
Yeah, if someone else has something else.
I've got Vice Mayor.
I think part of the necessity of that, of going through, or working directly with the board, is the fact that we don't own the horses. Like, we can say, we want to program whatever we want, and if the owners of the horses aren't going to participate with their horses, it's kind of, and that's where it gets back into this, which part of it's a park, the picnic tables, the certain areas, and then which part is leased to individuals, and I know we're going to get further into the muck along the rest of this year figuring all that out, but yeah, so I think we have to go through the board to make sure that people who keep their horses there want to participate with their horses, because otherwise what's the point?
Festivals or activities.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Thank you. Oops. Yeah, I would just wanted to say as well that Sand and Spurs could be a great asset for this community. Plantation. I recently called one of my contemporaries in Plantation and learned a lot about their facility. They have an equestrian facility. They don't board horses, but they do events. They have horse shows frequently. I want to say every weekend, and they have 96 stables in which these traveling horse shows come in. So I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think that there is potential in this facility if it is, if we stick to it, where we can have yearly or biannually, or once a month or once every couple of months during season, an event that will add to the uniqueness of Pompano Beach, and it would be a benefit to our city to add it to our, our list of things that you can do. When you want to visit someplace, we have that on the schedule as well. One day, I think we could get a trainer, and there could be lessons. There could be horseback riding for, 2-hour, 3-hour horseback riding for tourists. Those kind of things where essentially it enlivens, it brings people, and it generates some revenue. Plus, we have the stables. So as it becomes a more attractive venue going forward, we're going to attract more stables, people who want to stable their horses. Again, that's generating revenue. So hopefully, at the end, it may be one park that does finally make some money. I mean, that's my wish.
I look down here. Okay. I've got Commissioner Fournier, then Commissioner Moss. How's that?
Thank you. So people with horses there in the stables don't have to agree to participate in the things I'm talking about. So this is a public property, and you or I can go drive around and walk around and look at it and use the park right now without having a horse there. So I'm thinking about things like a nicer playground there, like a horse-themed playground. So when your kid wants to go drive around the horses like mine do every day, we can actually get out and do something there instead of just drive through there. And I think that kind of, it will be more likely to happen if this is a park. They will be paying attention to what the playground equipment there looks like, because there are some facilities there, old rundown equipment. So I think if it's in Parks and Rec, they will pay more attention to what a playground would look like there and what other facilities there, in addition to the stables part of it, could draw more residents into the facility and make it more usable for everyone, since we are all paying for it, we realized.
Commissioner Moss.
This motion isn't about Sand and Spurs Park. We've had a vote, it's staying, that's done. This is about moving it to Parks and Rec. And apparently, the city manager has very good reasons for not wanting to do this. And I would argue, if you move this facility into Parks and Recs, why would you have a Sand and Spurs Advisory Board and not have a tennis court advisory board, or an aquatic center advisory board, or a George Brummer Park advisory board? If it goes into Parks and Rec, it would seem to me that it would have to come under the sole authority of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and the Sand and Spurs Advisory Board would go away. So that's really what this is about. I mean, whether it stays or it doesn't, whether it's nice or it's nasty, whether the playgrounds are nice or not, that's one thing. But apparently, from an administrative standpoint, it benefits the city to keep it the way that it is. I'm not arguing that it isn't lovely and that we shouldn't support it, but why would it have its own advisory board if it's under the Parks and Recreation Department?
Very good points, Commissioner Moss, and I understand the desire on the part of this board to see more activity out there, but as far as from the maintenance standpoint, the supervision and the upkeep of the place, I think we ought to just leave it the way it is. Public Works can take care of that. Now, if we want to ask the city manager to have Parks and Rec start programming out at Sand and Spurs, he'll do that. He'll do that. I mean, that's fine. But the things you're talking about, and it's okay. I mean, if we want to have a horse show out there every month, once a month, they can do that. But they're probably going to have to go out and hire people with horses to come in and do it, because the people at the Sand and Spurs stables, they aren't required to do that. So if we want to hold functions out there and have all this good stuff, which is a great idea, more activities for everybody, that's great. But yeah, it's going to Parks and Rec, they'll have a separate budget item where, okay, Sand and Spurs activities, and which, that's a decision that we can make. But I mean, we just went through budget and there was some real angst about the budget, and now we're talking about, well, okay, let's beef up Sand and Spurs. But I agree with Commissioner Moss. If we're going to task Parks and Rec with trying to beef the programming up at Sand and Spurs, I think that we should have the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee involved in that. Now, what function the Sand and Spurs Advisory Committee would then play, I don't know. Whether it's just going to be overseeing the stalls, which really that's merely a management function where either you pay your rent or you move out, and that's what Public Works handles that also. So I'm not sure what the Sand and Spurs Advisory Committee really the function they would have then. If it's going to be under Parks and Rec will then have to hire a management company to make sure that our rink is up to snuff to hold events and so on and so forth, because it's different if we're holding events out there, encouraging the public to come out and, okay, pay $10 and ride a horse or something like that, versus somebody going out there with their own horse and at their own risk. And I'm sure the paperwork they sign, Mr. Berman, you can correct me, but I expect people sign the paperwork that says they ride at their own risk, which if we are starting to provide this service, well, we're taking the risk, which means we've got to make sure that the facilities are up to a different standard. Because, I mean, people who have horses there now, they go riding around the whole blimp base, which is fine, but that's not really the safest thing in case a car careens off the side of the road. But so I would be in favor of just leaving it under Public Works the way it is for the organizational structure. But yeah, if we want to get Parks and Rec really gung-ho and charge them with programming something out there, we can do that. But that's just my 2 cents. I've got Vice Mayor.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it makes more sense, again, from what I heard in the advisory meeting. There's still a lot of maintenance that needs to be handled first, that Public Works is looking into and they're working on doing, really before they could do too big of events. But at the same time, the Sand and Spurs community seems to be very into it. I'd be interested to see what type of programming they come up with and move forward with before really going too far, because like I said, there's already one that we should be hearing about pretty soon that's coming as soon as they get some stuff done. And then a few others that they were talking about. There are currently lessons, that one instructor there that does lessons, another one that's getting their instructor's license to do lessons. And I think it's one of those things too that where, when we look at our city's activities, not every park needs to have everything. We have our baseball parks, we have our soccer fields, we have golf, we have different parks for different activities, and I think that's excellent. And so you pick where you're going to go and try and make each park the best at its activities that are there. So I'm very hopeful in the way in which this has been moving, and rather quickly. So I'd like to really see where they go with it and then be able to work with it. And like I said, both Parks and Rec and Public Works were at the meeting there to be there and hear the advisory people, what their input was, hear whoever's there. So, and I guess I would encourage anyone from the community who wants to get involved. Their meetings are on the schedule, go out to it. It's a great thing. So I would be in favor of just leaving the structure the way it is for now and moving forward. I have a separate question. Do I have to wait till this is passed?
Well, yeah, we're still under Commissioner Fournier's report.
I can ask it.
I mean, if it's about this, I mean, sure, go ahead.
This is for Mr. Berman, is just,
You have the floor, go ahead.
is there a process in which we can get out from under this deed restriction with the FAA? I know it would be a tall order, but is there one?
I believe the city manager's office is already looking into that and is communicating with the FAA. We tried to get out of it previously. It was denied. The basic premise is there's not enough airpark or airstrips throughout the country. The FAA wants to make sure that whatever is in place remains, if not grows, but at least what's here remains, which is probably why they set this up, that the monies, no matter what we did, even if it wasn't non-aviational, the money would still go to keep the air park running and functioning. That's what the funds are used for. So I don't want to say no to anything, but I'm not overly optimistic, but we can always ask, and,
Yeah, just,
I understand that's already in the works.
that's excellent then, because it would be, I think there's more potential in Sand and Spurs, but the encumbrances of the deed restriction really kind of make it a pause to do as much as could be really fun. But anyways, thank you.
Very good. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on the motion to move Sand and Spurs Stables from its current structure out from under Public Works and put it under Parks and Rec? It's Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
So I just want to be clear in understanding what city manager has said, and you mentioned it, and so have you, and so has Commissioner Moss. So we could simply say we're funding it, it's in the budget, no problem there. We want, obviously, it's the advisory board, from my perspective, plays a big role in that facility. I think it's a good idea that we get some programming ideas through Parks and Rec. And my question is that something that we need to vote on, or is just talking about it enough, mention of it enough to say, hey, what do you think Parks and Rec could do for us? So the necessity is not to move it to Parks and Rec is really not there. We do have the premise of programming, which is the big thing, and improvements as our budget warrants, whether it be playgrounds or whatnot. Correct? Yep. Okay. Just, that's it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Can I modify my motion?
Sure, absolutely. It's okay.
It sounds like this is not the direction that people want to go, but I do want to make sure that we are looking at this facility from a programming perspective and from the actual infrastructure, the assets that are there. They are a little more run down than most of our parks. So I want to make sure that we are keeping up with the getting new fencing and new equipment and new picnic tables as necessary in the same way that we would do at any other parks in our city. So I'd modify the motion to ask that we make sure Parks and Rec is looking at this from a programming and a CIP perspective going forward.
But Parks and Rec doesn't really look at CIP projects like Public Works does.
Right, but there's line items for parks in there.
This is getting complicated.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'd modify it to ask that Parks and Rec look at Sand and Spurs for a programming and an equipment investment perspective from a a park equipment perspective.
How about that, Mr. Harrison?
That's fine.
Okay. So the motion, I believe, by Commissioner Fournier is that to direct staff, the Parks and Rec, direct Mr. Harrison to have his Parks and Rec staff review the Sandusburg Stables operation for additional programming opportunities and also associated necessary capital improvements to support additional programming opportunities. Would that be pretty accurate?
Yes.
I second that.
Okay. Discussion on the motion.
Call the roll.
Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Seeger-Eaton.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGee.
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Commissioner Fournier, you still have the floor.
I rest.
All right, let's move on to Commissioner Moss.
Well, I just have to wonder if next year at budget time, we're looking at a Sands and Spurs account that's $700,000 and not $400,000 once we repair everything and put in playgrounds. But that's a battle for another day. As some of you may know, some of the commissioners may know, there is a proposed project on the grounds of the Oaks Cypress Clubhouse in Palmyra to develop it into a residential complex. It's quite controversial in Palmyra. We've had a public meeting about it. The developers did, which I give them credit for. It was very well attended, over 200 people. I just wanted to announce to the public that I did speak to the developers this week, and they are revising their plans. They will be issuing the new plans hopefully this week, if not this week, then next. They will be establishing a website where people can go and see the revised plans and comment on them. And I don't have the exact wording, but I think that website will be something to the effect of keeping Palmyra informed or something like that. So when I get that information, I'll post it on the Palmyra community and Palmyra social. So for anyone from the Palmyra community who's watching, be on the lookout for that. Hopefully, the revised plans will make some people happier. So that's coming down the pike. Also, I've been in communication with Senators Pizzo and Polsky about having a community meeting regarding both the cost of insurance and the requirements to fully fund condominium reserves. I'm hoping to have that in mid to late November, and when that happens, I'll be posting that as well and inviting anyone in the community that wants to come. But we have a lot of condominiums in my district, so I think it'll be well attended. So they've said that they will come. When I have a date, I will announce that. And other than that, all is well. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg Harrison, can you give me the update on the Blanchely Museum parking lot? I mentioned it at one of the other meetings, that we had purchased the property back in 2021, and that there's no movement, and I did not receive an email or anything pertaining to it.
My understanding was that some of the staff relayed back to you that the parking lot was under review with the engineer, and that permits were being secured for that parking lot. So if you did not receive that, then I apologize.
No, I did not receive it. So is there an idea of when we think we could possibly start with the house demolition? No time certainty, or? Because, like I said, we purchased this property on January 8th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand there was some problems with the engineer, but it's just, there's no movement, so I just kind of need to know where we are and what to expect.
All right, I will get that information to you.
Okay, do we have an update on the soft park, the mini park at 420 Northwest 6th Street? next to ACAL, the mini park there, that, remember we had a 2-story building there, we tore that down in 2018. And then we purchased, I think, the land in March of 2022, somewhere up in there. So is there anything going on with the park, any movement with that particular?
There was some complications with regard to that property. Mr. Akil, I believe, hired an attorney, so.
No, he never, no, this is east of it. He wasn't the owner, I'm trying to think of who he sold it from, but I think his last name was Taylor, owned the property.
Well, here again, I'll have to get you those details.
All right. The last thing I have is Harold F. Pryor, our state attorney's office. We're having a workshop at the E. Pat Larkin Center on Thursday, October 5th. And this is a workshop to help you with sealing and expungement of your records. If you are arrested anywhere in Broward County and you want to see if you can get your records expunged or sealed, adults and juveniles are welcome. You must have government ID, and this will be from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday, October 5th at the E. Pat Larkin Center. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Commissioner Segerson-Eden.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor here. We came to the Cresthaven Civic Association meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was well attended, and it's great for the billing and well attended. And our next meeting will be on November 9th. A speaker yet to be determined. And I also just wanted to mention that I have been out of town for the last week, and I have not reviewed any of my emails, so I apologize for that. I intend on doing that the next day. Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you for that. Vice Mayor.
I have no report.
Very good. I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Segerson-Eden for inviting me to Cresthaven. It was a great meeting. I'm always welcome to go to any community meeting around the city that folks invite me to, if my schedule permits, of course. But yes, thank you so much. And that's all I've got. This meeting is adjourned.